imposters. They say you took something that belonged to them. And man, they gon' kick your white ass.
Imposter, I'm just a middle-class worker from Toronto. In spite of how I sound, single one platinum bigger than Marley and Jimmy and Yellowman, but I'm not even mulatto. My reggae's watered down. Hear me on the radio, think I could not be blacker, but on my video you see I'm really a cracker, pretending I was a rasta since I was in jammies. I should pay my base and start betting out Mary. You can criticize me all the way to the bank. My single #1 and Shabba don't rank. Time Warner kick Dicey off the label, puts us in the cops. They said it just ain't right. But when a Caucasian man records a Copyright song, they don't have a problem. Must be an oversight. All the Jamaicans think I gave them a bum steer, but everything I know I learned from an auctioneer. The bidding will start at 7 for this here go gang. 8 do I hear 8, 9, who'll give me 10? I got 10 going once, going twice sold. I can spout gibberish and it'll go gold. I am what I am, and that's all that I am. A skitty button, dip up the bow. Day-o, day-o, bizade, 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 oh.
I'm rapping your songs with the best of my ability. You need a black man to increase your credibility. When put on the spot, I side with the rosters, cause Sean ain't down with no imposter.
Imposter, like Vanilla Ice, the people are sick of me. They put my boom boom down in 4 months. My butt'll be back in Canada working a day job with a burger crown. Would you like fries with that? A hot apple pie with that.
Just drive around, man. Blue top. Cool running. Ah! Hey, man. You wouldn't pick a man with glasses, would you, man? I'm warning you, man. I shot the sheriff. Exodus. Oh, now.
Yeah, they said that I sell my soul. Should I just tell them the truth?
He sold it for a double cheeseburger with mac sauce.
With extra onions on it, baby. Don't play. It's time for me to just keep it 100 with y'all. Like, yes, they got me in this shit. I don't know. I can't get out of it. I'm getting too much money. I'm getting too much money. I don't want to get out of it. That's what y'all wanted to hear. Now I'm saying it. We just left this Hollywood party, baby. This Balenciaga party. Bring me Balenciaga himself.
Bring me Lewis himself.
Many men wish death upon me. I know, and I can't. Trying to take my life.
Heal me, heal me, heal me, heal me.
I need for fucking with me. That's how you talk. When you talk about me, I'll come and take you. what it is you really do.
I hope it worked. I hope it worked. Why would it not work? Why would it not work? What it do, y'all? What it do, y'all? I'm the host with the motherfucking most. Chill motherfucking Murray. Now tuning live from the spot. Shout out to everybody tuning in, not tuning in. You know how we doing, how we ride. Ashley, Doxy, Chum coming down. What's going on, brothers? What's going on? Ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good evening. Happy Tuesday to everybody. How y'all feeling this evening? Hope everybody is okay. Hope everybody hear me loud and clear out there. Oh, it didn't work last time. No. It wasn't that it didn't work last time. I went off the air. I just shut the stream down because I was sitting there for quite some time and nobody had arrived. So I was like, well, it might be too late. I might be starting this one a little bit too late. This is about 10:30 going on 11 o'clock my time, which is, I know, about 12 o'clock midnight on the East Coast. So I was like, well, let me do other things. Life been life and dog. I understand that. Black Lion, what's going on? What's going on with you? Life is always life. See everybody in here. That's what I said. Let me start around regular primetime hours around this time. I think I'm gonna start doing 9 o'clock. That's when everybody usually starts to come and file in, and then later on in the evening, everybody starts to pick up. So I know this is like around the prime time to do things. It's a prime time to do things. Everybody enjoy the Jay-Z doc we looked at? The craziest thing is I didn't realize there was so many people that didn't see it. That was one of the biggest reasons why I actually felt the need to actually put it out, because I was like, yeah, it makes sense. It just makes sense to have people informed about it. Because I noticed, like I said, a lot of people just hadn't seen even The Death of a Dynasty. Excuse me. You know what's bad? You know what's crazy? I was looking at your profile earlier. Brother, it says you are unranked. SL, what's going on? What's going on with you? Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the thing about that, like I said, I didn't realize how many people had not seen Death of a Dynasty, and also didn't realize how back then it was just a joke, right? It was just a run-on joke that they had actually broken up, and the movie was the influence of why they broke up, and everybody was like, hey, this is just a fairy tale, or is it? You know what I'm saying? Type of shit. Like, it really was the reason, should I say, the summary of the movie was why they actually broke up, which was they broke up because of Aaliyah. They actually had broken up because of Aaliyah Rockefeller. Excuse me. Let me see something real quick. I know this is going up and down. Okay. All right, so my mic level is great tonight. My mic level is great. So I like this. All right, so as you guys see the cover, so I was going to start on a couple of different things, but I feel like it's only right we just get right into what we got to get into. What I think about what's going on with Dame. So that was something I was thinking about getting into later on. I was just gonna watch. Well, I can't watch the Breakfast Club interview, but I was gonna check out a couple of clips from Cameron and him, because it's funny how the tables have turned, and that's why I never said anything about, if you notice, I kept skipping by the Dame Dash bankruptcy thing. My ear is always to the streets. don't get it fucked up. My ear is always to the streets. So I was hearing about the bankruptcy with Dame Dash and Cam and him going back and forth, and Dame Dash doing a video sitting out there in the desert. I watched that interview, a little bit of it. And then Cameron made his response on It Is What It Is show. I was like, yeah, well, that's Harlem. That's one thing about Harlem, is that they never really disrespect each other to the point of no return, number one. Number two, they have a long-standing relationship as far as, Dame and Cameron. So we're talking about 20, 30 years they know each other. You know what I mean? So I doubt that they would, not be able to rectify things, as well as, there's something to always say about Dame Dash as far as how he's even doing his little vlogs, if you will, right? How he's doing his little vlog entries of him talking. You have to understand, he's paying money for that stuff, right? So everybody calls Dame broke. Listen, I've never looked at Dame broke since the day he sat in since the day that he sat down in the Breakfast Club one time, and I believe he had his son with him that was selling cookies. If you remember, right? He literally had his son selling cookies. But the reason why he had him selling cookies was because he had his son have his own cookie business. Real quick, I want to see where that cookie business is at, because I haven't looked at it, right? Dame Dash son name. Boogie. Okay. Dame Dash son cookie business. Just want to see where. Yeah, is it Chips Cookies? Okay, so his net worth as of 2023 is it going to say okay, so his estimated net worth right now is about 1.5 million. And that's just off him selling cookies. Right? The crazy thing is he had his son selling cookies since he graduated high school. So just that little thing alone told me that Dame Dash is a man of integrity and business. And even if he doesn't have a single dollar to his name, he's going to own things that are worth a lot. So everything Dame Dash does, he owns. So the little vlogs that you see, he's paying for out of his own pocket. He's not going to sit down with somebody and taking money. He's actually taking the money and making his own production from it. Like, he has his own little studio. You know what I'm saying? He has his own production studio to make movies out of. Dame Dash will never be broke because of how much stuff that he puts, how much product he puts out. He'll always have money somewhere. So even if he files bankruptcy, it's just so people can get off him, so he can have a little bit of dollars in his pocket to move around a little bit and have some room. You know what I mean? So when I got the news today that he's now the CEO of Revolt, I said, oh, how the tables have turned. Because now, Cameron, as you've made the remarks that you've made, Dame Dash is now your boss. He is now your boss. So watch what you say. Because I have the control over your show. You can take this shit to just regular YouTube, or you can leave it on Revolt. It's up to you. But I run the show now. Literally. So we might get into that later on still. We might get into that later on still. Like I said, I do want to start here with Charlie Kirk. Now, I am very uninformed. Excuse me. I am very uninformed on who Charlie Kirk is. I did not know who he was from a hole in the wall. Even the day that he got assassinated, my mind just it didn't. The problem with that is we have become so desensitized. It's almost normal. It's fucked up in a way, right? But it's almost normal me hearing about somebody even getting shot now. You ever thought about that? Like how normal it is for me to hear about somebody getting assassinated or disinfluenced. Like I was just talking to somebody about how the increase in influencers and content creators alike have just been dropping like flies. Like I'm talking about bodies on bodies have just been coming up of different influencers and content creators, and majority of them seem to be female for some reason. But when Charlie Kirk got assassinated, like I said, it just didn't seem like, oh my God, what happened? I wasn't shocked about anything. I wasn't shocked about anything. I wasn't alarmed. And then that spoke volumes to me as well as far as the energy was concerned, because then I started to realize, I was like, well, he's starting to get, from what I'm hearing, he was getting the same type of, his death surrounded the same aura of a Hulk Hogan. So I was like, am I supposed to be, saddened by his death? I want to be respectful, of course, always, to respect the dead. So rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. No, but about it there, it's just that, like I said, I got nothing but that energy of Hulk Hogan, and what stirred around Hulk Hogan's death was racism and who he was as a person. So I had to ask myself, who is this guy for real? Like, I don't know who he is. So I just need to inform myself on who he actually is. And I wanted to start with, of course, what the main thing that surrounded his name, which was racism. And so I looked up, and I know I was kind of putting myself, I guess the best way to say is, I was kind of setting myself up for something at the same time. If you look for, how they say, if you look for something, you're going to find it. Like if you're looking for, if your woman's cheating, you're more than likely going to find something that says she's cheating, regardless if it is or actually isn't. You know what I mean? And that's, the crazy thing is I was expecting to find like more propaganda than anything with him being racist, but I didn't. I didn't at all. I was kind of shocked at some of the things that I was hearing him say. Like, you really think like that? You sure? So there was that, and then I started noticing how when, say for example, they put out the post, and I forgot where it was, but this group, you know what? Let me look up real quick of where exactly what it was, because I heard about the people that got fired. You know what I mean? And that kind of set me for a loop. People fired from job for. I forgot where it was. Yeah, see, all over the place, people are getting fired for their remarks on Charlie Kirk, it seems like. Oh, so you don't even have an exact place on that one. They just got different articles of what happens with the First Amendment, because that's another thing, right? It's starting to seem like this is pretty much pushing an agenda for something as well. It's pushing, you know, we already had the suspicions of the attack on the First Amendment, which was the freedom of speech. So is that or is that not freedom of speech if someone feels a certain way about an individual, you know, regardless of what they're trying? It's not that they're trying to do defamation of character. You know what I mean? That's different from freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is just simply you having a certain opinion about something, and you're allowed to speak your mind on it. And if that's challenged, you know, there is no more freedom of speech. If that's challenged in any way, it's no freedom of speech. Where the challenge comes where people are losing their actual jobs over something that they say and their opinion on something. You see, the article even says teachers, firefighters, and other employees not in the public spotlight have also been fired or suspended. Says here in Springfield, Illinois, a new former television anchor, Benny Ray Harmony, said she was suspended by her station after she aired a nonpartisan tribute to Charlie Kirk on Friday after the 31-year-old was fatally shot at Utah Valley University. Kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy that people are just, you know, losing their, say, 8 employers that fired staff. Oh my God, it's a list right here of 8 employers. This is from Fox Business. Oh, the NASDAQ, Broad Institute, Perkins Coie, Office Depot, Joe Burrow Foundation, MSNBC. Wow, Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers fired an employee, Charlie Rock, who made social media posts following.
He sure knows these parts well.
It's a commercial.
Folks say the planes whisper to him.
Outlaws in 500 feet. Rerouting.
Making a left!
Innovation changes everything.
Man, he's good.
With one investment, you can access the NASDAQ 100 innovators who are rethinking the world. Before investing carefully, read and consider fund investment objectives, risks, charges, expenses, and more in prospectus at Invesco.com.
So where was that? Carolina
Colorado
Panthers.
Congresswoman Lauren Boebert called for prayer on the House floor last night. All right, listen to the Democrats' response.
Oh. Okay. I'm like, where is that coming from? Okay, so Carolina Panthers fired a staff member named Charlie Rock. West Ada School District. Okay, let me just get off this right now because I don't know where that commercials and shit is airing from and whatnot. Okay. So I did have a video too. To back up what I am saying, of course. Yes, I didn't like how they even had this worded. The video was even worded weird. So, State Department issues warning to foreigners glorifying Charlie Kirk's assassination. So, like, what do you mean by foreigners? Because last time I checked, we're supposedly, quote unquote, the minority. So, what do you mean by foreigners that talk about Charlie Kirk's assassination? Like, what are you trying to say by that?
Welcome back. If nothing else, Charlie Kirk was an activist of free speech, traveling the country to engage with college students to debate policy and talk about this great nation of ours and freedoms. He was an early supporter of Truth Social and Rumble and warned about the cancel culture of liberal Democrats and the pressure that the Biden administration put on social media companies to cancel Republicans. His assassination is putting a renewed focus on America's values and freedom. A top State Department official is now warning that it will revoke the visas of foreigners in the United States who glorify violence and hatred for America. Joining me right now is the CEO of Trump Media and Technology Group, owner of Truth Social, and chairman of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, former California Congressman Devin Nunes. Devin, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I know that Charlie was an early supporter of Truth Social. We're now learning that his social media platform went from 1.2 million followers to 12 million followers within 48 hours. That gives you a taste of where this movement is going. Your reaction?
Yeah, just on Truth Social, he skyrocketed over 3 million just in the last few days. And he was an early supporter, Maria, you're exactly right, because he, like many Americans, had been canceled. And I will tell you, for me, Charlie was a happy warrior. I remember, 7, 8 years ago, during the height of all the Russia hoax and the first Trump administration, he was out there articulating better than many politicians in Washington could that this whole thing was a hoax. And then he watched as many of us, including President Trump, were banned off of all social media. So he was there at the beginning helping us fight through that. Sadly, Maria, the last time that I saw Charlie was in New York, getting ready to do your show just over a month ago. And just a week before he was assassinated, my 2 high school daughters actually volunteered at an event in California for him, and we exchanged a brief text message. Charlie was a happy warrior, and he's going to be, missed, not just, I know everybody says about the family and all of that. We all feel for him and the family. But he was a key component to the conservative movement, and I think that's why the left assassinated him.
Devin, I want to get your take on what President Trump in the past has called the enemy within, and the people who have been against him and his agenda and his supporters from day one. We are learning now that there are reports that FBI agents in Salt Lake City reportedly sat on a crucial photo of the suspect, the assassin, who is in police custody, for nearly 12 hours before actually sharing it with their boss, Director Kash Patel. Your reaction?
Yeah. Look, the FBI has to be cleaned up. For so long, what did they target? They targeted Catholics. They targeted innocent families across this country. And while Antifa was allowed to roam free, burning down buildings, going into blue cities, creating chaos, and the FBI did nothing about it. And so I think what you see, Kash Patel, the new director of the FBI, as we know, there's so much to clean up, so much history here. But at the end of the day, if you look at what's happened, that the radical left in this country have been trying to kill conservatives now for going on 8 years. Steve Scalise, my former colleague, a Republican leader, many others, could have been gunned down on that baseball field. Thankfully, he was saved, but still today he carries those injuries with him. President Trump was.
Scott Child, what's going on? What's going on? See, and the crazy thing is, I'm looking up what a leftist actually is. So it's funny, right? Listen to this, right? So leftist is a term used to describe individuals and groups who advocate for social, economic, and political change based on principles of egalitarianism. While the label is broadly applied, its specific meaning varies depending on the context, and it can sometimes be used as a disparaging term by opponents. So, at its heart, leftism is defined by certain core ideas, although the specific policies to achieve them differ across various leftist ideologies. So, egalitarianism and equality, leftists generally believe in reducing excessive differences in wealth, power, and social status. I mean, I kind of agree with that. Reducing excessive difference in wealth, power, and social status. So that means you're challenging the actual pyramid scheme that they say there is, right? Where you have the rich and the powerful, the middle class, and you have the low poor class. There should be a reduction in the excessive difference in that, because there is a very excessive difference in between the rich, middle class, and the poor. And whereas there is a huge gap between the rich and the poor, and they've also over the past few years been slowly cutting that gap and removing the middle class to where there only is rich and poor. Remember, Lil Wayne even said that a couple of times. There's a few rich people that said it, like, listen, later in the years, they're going to completely remove the middle class, and it's just going to be the rich and the poor. And you better get some money now before it's too late. There's people that literally said that. So I kind of agree with the, like I said, the overall just that first part of that right there, the reduction in excessive difference in wealth, power, and social status. So this is often rooted in the idea that person's development flourishes in cooperative mutuality, mutually respectful relationships. Progressive reform, leftists favor social change or reform over preserving existing institutions. Okay. Believing that progress is necessary for a more just society. What's wrong with that? And then this one right here gets me, right? Active government. The left often believes that government should play an active role in addressing social problems and promoting general welfare. What's wrong with that? Worker advocacy. Leftists tend to be critical of traditional elites and favor the interests of the working class. So far, I'm not reading anything that's kind of wrong, you know. Anti-capitalism. I mean, that kind of speaks for itself. Many leftist ideologies are critical of capitalism, with some rejecting it entirely in favor of alternative economic systems. Baby Juju, what's going on? Like I said, I'm not hearing anything that's wrong about so-called the left. And it's crazy how they call it leftist, because of course the opposite of left is right, right? So of course conservatives are supposed to be right all the time, huh? And I'm just guessing, you know, if the opposite of a leftist is a conservative, you pretty much are okay with how things are already. You don't want to challenge anything ever, and you'd rather just your government just tell you what to do. I think, you know, it's nothing wrong with challenging that. It should never be anything wrong with challenging us just, you know, being slaves to a government that we question already whether it cares about us or not, because it lies to us on a daily basis. So I don't necessarily see where this whole leftist thing even comes from, because it doesn't sound like it's anything wrong with just having a brain and trying to use it. If anything, that's what it says that the leftist is that you have a brain and you're trying to use it. Whereas a conservative is just okay with what's going on already. Just saying. So,
was nearly shot at twice, nearly killed, and and finally they got Charlie Kirk. This violence has to end. It's the political left. I think it's total nonsense when you hear now these politicians that are coming out saying, "Oh well, we gotta lower down the rhetoric." The rhetoric was done by my former colleagues in Congress. Yeah. It was also done and supported by a very sophisticated organization. Many people say Soros, but it's not just Soros who helps to organize this. Soros works in conjunction with the Democratic National Committee and other foundations to support these radical groups across the country that has led to this unprecedented historical violence, right? And what you really have, I think this is just my summation of it, and then you have the 1960s radicals that saw this quasi work in the 1960s. They are now running this country, running the radical left, and it's now resulted in people getting assassinated. It's turned into nothing but a death cult. And Cash and the FBI, they have a lot of work cut out for them to try to get to the bottom of, as Cash always said, you got to follow the money. These organizations aren't being stood up with no money. They're being stood up with lots of money. And that's what you have to follow the money, find the trail, and put this to an end.
It's a very important point. And President Trump said he is going to be looking into what Soros is doing. I mean, somebody is funding these movements to hate on America. Somebody is
So that's the thing, right? I notice how you use the wording. Someone is funding this for people to hate on America. First of all, don't say it like conservatives are all of America, number one. Don't say it like that's all of America and how people think. Don't say it like it's an attack on America because of how someone is challenging how the government is actually done. So let me also say this, right? Is it just me, or are they trying to push an agenda of civil war here? That's what I'm getting from this. It's starting to sound like they're pushing some type of weird civil war that doesn't actually exist. Like they're trying to separate how people think already. It's just me. Or they're really trying to just split it down the middle of, oh, if you challenge the government, you're on this side. If you don't, you know what I mean? That's what it's starting to sound like to me. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm getting from this.
Funding these movements, which are equally happening within schools. So what should be done about Soros and those people who are funding it? What are the consequences?
Well, look, first of all, you got to turn around the FBI and actually get them to focus on the real enemies. You know, they sat around for all this time, you know, targeting, you know, Trump for dealing with Russia, the Ukraine impeachment, going after people that peacefully protested on January 6th. What they didn't do is go after the not only the funders, but the organizers that have destroyed these blue cities, these Democratic-run cities and these Democratic-run states. And we have this interesting juxtaposition where because it's not just about the violence that's occurring and spreading throughout the country. It's also about, at the end of the day, how are they going to pay for all of this? The destruction that they're doing in these cities, like, you know, now New York, it's went from being everybody knew it was a liberal town and a liberal city, but now it's going to be run by a communist potentially. I mean, these are uncharted waters in modern times. Yeah. And President Trump is in a position, and he's called it out. I mean, he's been a victim of it. He's called it out, and I think his administration has a lot of work to do.
Devin, real quick before you go, what do you want to say about Russia and the Europeans still buying oil from Russia as President Trump tries to end this war? Look, by the way, we've seen vigils for Charlie Kirk in Australia, in London, across the world. People are recognizing everything you're just saying.
Okay, so before he gets into that, Charlie Kirk's shooter has been supposedly apprehended and caught. I don't necessarily know what to think about the whole thing, because they said we always get the information, like the Trump shooter, right? We always get the information about who he was, and that supposedly he had like a signs and whatnot, and he was crazy in high school and all that. They always feed us that same bullshit with the script, right? So I didn't necessarily want to get into that, but I found, you know, this video to be odd because how, like I said again, how it's worded. You know what I mean? Charlie Kirk's suspect Tyler Robinson is radicalized online.
Your FBI is investigating the potential role of left-wing organizations in the assassination. I'm wondering if you think if Charlie Kirk's assassin worked alone or if he worked with you.
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you he didn't work alone on the internet, because it seems that he became radicalized on the internet. That's just by watching same things that you're watching and hearing. It looks like he became radicalized over the internet. And it seems like he has wonderful parents, brought in a wonderful neighborhood, smart guy, great boards, great marks, great student. And then something happened to him over a fairly short period of time. It looks like he was radicalized over the internet, and it's radicalized on the left. He's a left. I have a lot of problems with the left, and they get protected, and they shouldn't be protected. But as you understand, I think very well from the tone of your question. Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
You mentioned that the shooter was radicalized online.
I think so. You know, by the way, when I say that, that's my opinion. I think he was radicalized online based on what they're saying.
Do social media companies bear any responsibility for that? And how is that?
I'm going to have to ask, I don't know, I'd ask Pam that question. I don't know if you or Todd could give an answer to that. Somebody has to bear some responsibility.
You know, and President Trump, I've always told parents, you got to watch what your kids are doing on the internet, what they're doing online. What they're listening to, what they're reading. They're all online. They're all on their phones all the time. Parents have got to monitor that because this starts when you're young. This starts when you're young, when you listen to these groups, when you watch these shows, and parents have got to just be vigilant. So sure, that's part of it, and they're meeting kids online who they think are kids, and they can be anywhere in the world and talking to them, and yeah, they are being radicalized.
Mr. President, he went bad, and he just went bad very quickly in a sense, because he sort of led a very normal life, a life of, great education, schools, everything else. But somewhere along the line, something happened. Yeah, please.
Question on Charlie Kirk and crime. On Charlie Kirk, do you plan to speak at the funeral, and what would your message be?
Well, I'm going on Sunday. We're taking a whole plane load, and I was invited on Saturday, but I said I'd rather save it for Sunday. We're going to have a stadium. And I'll bet that stadium is going to be pretty packed, maybe completely packed. It's going to be big, but I'm going to be at the stadium, and I guess I'll say a few words. I don't know, but I guess I will. But I knew him very well. He was an amazing guy. He was all about young people, getting them started right. And he was like a magnet for young people. They just attracted to him. He loved them, and they attracted to him. His wife is a tremendous person, by the way. He always had great respect for his wife. He got married. I didn't know he was getting married. I heard he got married, and he loved her. He really loved her. She loved him, and I think she'll have something to do with keeping that whole thing going. Turning Point it became a very big deal, and I heard they had like 38,000. So he wanted to get it up to 20,000 chapters. That's a lot. That would have been a lifetime's work. I heard that over the last 4 days, they have 38,000 people wanted 38,000 chapters at colleges, schools, other places. Numbers that, nobody's ever heard of numbers like that. So I think Turning Point could be, through what happened, this horrible act, it
delivering
could be
safe,
maybe bigger
clean,
than it could have ever
reliable,
been
and affordable
had he
water.
been there. And I will say this, he'd be very happy if he saw what was going on. And there's some very good people, because I speak at Turning Point quite a bit. And Charlie would call me up. So the last time I spoke to him, he said, "Sir," I think it was Phoenix. "Sir, could you get to Phoenix?" This was like in a day. I said, "Charlie, I'm the President of the United States. You called me asking me if I could speak tomorrow in Phoenix. You can't do that to me, Charlie." But usually I ended up going. He was great. He was a great guy, and he didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this, believe me.
Mr. President, I want Charlie Kirk, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk,
Right.
do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to have staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar. Oh,
The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People make requests for the lowering of flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
And given the killing of Melissa Hortman, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the attack on Gabby Giffords, the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion, why make the case that violence is only on one side? It seems to be taking place.
I didn't say it's on one side, but I say the radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way. But the radical left really is caused a lot of problems for this country. I really think they hate our country.
And see, that's where you have to draw the line, because now it's like I said, it's starting to just sound like to me like you're trying to push an agenda of civil war. Like you're really trying to just separate people in general and how people think and how people are allowed to think. I paid attention to how he was saying that, he was going to definitely attend Charlie Kirk's funeral and everything. But, you know, I'm seeing the videos here where he didn't actually attend it.
1970. You should have told me sooner. I would have taken it down. But we got it down after you said in 24 hours it was down. And they had a lot of permits, but they weren't current. So we got it down. Enjoy yourselves, right? You're gonna have some great pictures today. You're gonna have the best pictures, Doug. It's gonna be a beautiful event. Everyone's looking forward to it. And we'll just relax and have a good time. Country's doing well. Stock market setting all sorts of records. And I think
he doesn't look like normal Trump here. As I'm pausing it just so you look at his face right here. Doesn't look like normal Trump. Looks very sick. Looks very decaying.
There's never been a time like this. We had a horrible tragedy, but we're going to have to do something about that. We can't let that happen. So I'll be going to the service on Sunday, coming back, and then we're going, and I guess a lot of you are coming out with us, okay? So enjoy yourselves, okay? It's great to have you. Thank you.
Now, like I said, from what I saw, he skipped the vigil to go to his golf course, and social media was shredding him for it. But what was even more interesting about that was this video that people were saying is AI. And I, for one, question it myself.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace.
I don't know why my player's messing up right here, so let me put it on a different one real quick, because there's a certain part I want you guys to really...
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot.
You see that?
Who devoted his...
Did you see that? I'm going to run it back real quick. If you notice, the video glitches.
Millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot.
Did you see it? All of a sudden, it moves up real fast. I'll play it back one more time. You got to catch it right at the 20-second mark.
Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot.
Now, when I saw this, I said, wait a minute. They don't do live ones anymore? As in, they don't do even, like, even if this was, like, pre-recorded, like, I would think it would be, like, a real person there, wouldn't it? But it was just so many things, and like even in the background, like the windows look digital. It doesn't look like there's a real outside there. You know what I mean? Am I tripping? Like, he does sound like one in general. But this particular video, like I said, people were pointing out, saying that this was, it seems very AI-ish. Am I off for thinking that?
Who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America.
I'll play the little part back one more time. It's right at the 20-second mark.
He fought for liberty, democracy, who inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
So again, you guys can see it, right? It looks very AI-ish, like it's not real. Cherie Purnell, what's going on with you? Hope everything's doing all right. Doing all right this evening. Looks very AI-ish, like it look like it's a deep fake almost. Like they deep fake Trump's voice here and face. But I'm saying to myself, even if they pre-recorded, why would they do that? Why would they even make a deep fake or AI version of this, public address to Charlie Kirk if they so-called cared about him, number one? Number two, why would he skip the vigil and go to a golfing event? It's a lot of suspicious things going on with this here, right? And then I keep hearing about the whole leftist thing and pushing the agenda of we got to stop the leftist thinkers and their violent thinkers and whatnot. And they, he was radicalized online by people that, I'm like, wait a minute. Now y'all are really trying to push the social media is radicalizing and brainwashing people to think for themselves. That's a little odd to me, but that's what I'm hearing, is that you are challenging the fact that social media is the reason why he was supposedly converted to think how he thinks. And I'm like, I've seen this script before in the movie, I've seen this scene before. You are trying to make it so that social media is now censored and people aren't able to speak their mind anymore. That's what you're trying to do. I can already see that. You're pretty much martyring this guy and making him you pretty much sacrificed this gentleman to push your agenda. This was never about Charlie Kirk as much as it is about you pushing the agenda of you would like America's brains to be censored and controlled. That's the overall goal here I'm already seeing. But like I said, the fact that you went out your way to do an AI video tells me a lot, because it's also saying that you didn't necessarily yourself care about him. It's also aiding to the fact that when I look at you in this YouTube video here, you don't look the best of ways. Like, you look very deteriorated here. You look extremely deteriorated here. I've never seen you this wrinkled ever. Ever. And the guy that I just looked at in that video damn sure didn't look like the guy that's standing here that did a video 5 hours ago for ABC News. Or should I say ANI News. This guy here doesn't look, healthy at all. He looks very withered away. When I look at, you tell me if I'm wrong. Oh, yeah, definitely 2 Trumps. But this is definitely a completely different version of a Trump than what I'm seeing here on this other screen, am I not? I know I'm not tripping there. Yes, exactly. Dick Gregory said there's 2 Trumps. Red tie, blue tie. And by golly, you ain't never seen 2 different color on him since. You ain't never seen him wear a different color tie. But red or blue, have you? Just different tones of the same color, but you ain't never seen him without a red or blue tie. But again, there's a couple of videos, like I said, I wanted to check out real quick that kind of speak to who Charlie Kirk was. But real quick, I also want to look at shout out to Nissi Social. Always tell y'all follow her. She has a video that she did about, the conspiracy surrounding Charlie Kirk's death and why everything just seems so odd around it also. But I want you guys to look at these videos here with me. And there's a couple of videos that, kind of speak to who he was. And you guys tell me. You guys tell me.
Charlie Kirk is a racist and an idiot, and one of the largest voices on the right. His fame is a relatively new thing. He went from being known only by online political junkies like myself in the late 2010s.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Cenk. I live as a capitalist, okay? I live what I believe. No. What do? I get charity every single year. Hold on. What's my salary? Less than his.
Charlie, take
Come on, Cenk, let's go.
Charlie,
what
are
you doing?
Take a seat. Take a seat.
Psycho? To being known by basically every single teenager in America with a TikTok account.
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the I'm sorry, is this a language class?
It means little human being.
He even does the thing that Ben Shapiro does, where he debates random college students.
So you're comparing abortion to the Holocaust?
Absolutely I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse.
He went to my college last year where I debated him and won. How do I know this? I didn't get clipped. Now, over the past few weeks, Charlie's been going on racist tirades online over Muslims in the United States. Actually, Islamophobia isn't racism. It is though. People who look vaguely Arab or brown get profiled as Muslims all the time. Sikhs get hate crimed because people think that they're Muslims because they're brown, wear turbans, and have beards. Charlie literally did this himself on Twitter when he mistook the mayor of Calgary for being Muslim when she was Sikh because she was brown. So yeah, there is absolutely a racial component. But even if he wasn't racist and just Islamophobic, Islamophobia is still bigotry. So how is Charlie Kirk Islamophobic? That's what we'll be finding out on today's episode of Progressive Primers. First, take a look at his commentary about New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani. Mamdani, who is a self-described democratic socialist, surprised even progressives when he not only won the New York mayoral Democratic primary, but won it by 12 points. Mamdani is also incredibly based. So naturally, Charlie Kirk would have a problem with him. Although the way he criticized him was interesting. He tweeted, "New York City is likely to elect a Muslim socialist as mayor. This is quickly becoming one of the biggest threats to our country. Pay attention." Interesting that Charlie thought it was important to highlight that he was Muslim. He could have just called him a socialist and his audience would have already had a reason to dislike him. Can you imagine if Kirk called someone a black socialist? How about a Jewish socialist? He would have been canceled even by the right. After Mamdani won the primary, Charlie tweeted this. 24 years ago, a group of Muslims killed 2,753 people on 9/11. Now a Muslim socialist is on pace to run New York City. Now, obviously, this is an absurdly Islamophobic thing to say. Zohran Mamdani is not a terrorist or even remotely has the same worldview as Al-Qaeda.
Now, I know some of this is flying over your head, so I'll let it be broken down in more simpler terms for you guys.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
So, you know me. I like to let the horse speak from his own mouth.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
Because of DEI, it begs the question: when you see a black pilot, you wonder. You say, "I hope they are qualified." I wouldn't think that if the CEO of United or these airlines would reject DEI and say excellence is the ultimate standard.
Now, again, I like to let the horse speak from his own mouth. You heard it for your own ears, okay? How this guy thinks, it just, like I said, we're going to look at a few different things that he says and how he thinks, right? But just that one in particular, you know, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to say, I wonder if he's qualified, versus if you see a white one, you're not going to think that. That alone is kind of in the prejudice zone, don't you think?
I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman. I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily wholesome. It creates resentment, doesn't it, Heather? No one really cares.
And this is him trying to argue about DEI hires and whatnot, right? Which is pretty much diversified economic hires. And it's pretty much him, like, again, you're kind of putting your foot in your mouth when you're talking about these type of things, and you say those little, nuances as far as, is the black woman there because of her excellence or affirmative action? Because then you're trying to make it sound like you are really questioning whether or not she got there on her own merit or not. Again, whether you think that she got there on her own merit or not versus she didn't, that part should not be determined by the person's skin color, into where you see a person of your skin color that is white, you automatically don't think that, and you think they got there on their own merit. Like, it's more honest to be Caucasian than it is a different color. That is how it comes across.
When it's HR managers. No one cared when it was, just kind of paper shufflers or even engineers. But now when it's like, wait, hold on a second. You're going to remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian.
Charlie Kirk has no problem putting his true beliefs about anyone who isn't a white, rabid conservative like him on full display.
So it hurts my heart, because doing what I love has been kind of taken away from me to please other people. Yeah, that's the point, Simone Biles. You're representing your nation, you're selfish sociopath. You kidding me? We are raising a generation of weak people like Simone Biles. Again, if she got all these mental health problems, don't show up. She's an incredible athlete. Of course she's an incredible athlete. I just said she's probably the greatest gymnast of all time. She's also very selfish. She's immature, and she is a shame to the country. She's totally a sociopath. Of course she's a sociopath. Andrew said she's not a sociopath. What kind of person skips the gold medal match? Who does that? It's a shame to the nation.
LeBron James is a self-interested, narcissistic, and we know he's not very smart. He does these press conferences where he thinks he's making sense spiritually and freedom of speech. But he's a product of his time. What would you expect from LeBron James? It's cool to insult America. It's cool to sell yourself out to China. Not very bright, not wise, not somebody of good character, but is a blowhard. He'll never have to apologize. He'll never have to admit failure. And of course, everyone knows that LeBron James chronically cheats on his wife. Obviously, he's an NBA player. Savannah James should be asked about that. Hey, how do you feel about your husband cheating on you all the time? But that's just how the NBA works. The whole thing is an open marriage. He's immoral in almost everything he does. He shouldn't be lifted up, but I don't think most Americans do. He would obviously stand for the China national anthem, and he can't even show a modicum of respect for the country that has given him everything.
Including generational black athletes like Simone Biles and the right wing's favorite target, LeBron.
But you see what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm just letting him speak. This is how he think. This ain't somebody making up a montage of videos and, it's AI how he think, or him, it's someone talking over it, pictures of him and videos of him, I should say. This is really him and how he think.
James, spreading baseless lies and playing into the bigot stereotypes that his base responds to.
Thomas Sowell and Justice Clarence Thomas are far better black role models to celebrate than Martin Luther King. Period. End of story.
While also having the gall to tell the black community which role models they should look up to while smearing the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
It's Holy Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And we said some things today, and we challenged some of the primary doctrine that is running modernity. If you disagree with our take on MLK, just listen to this episode. Give it a fair hearing. Just say, hey, maybe I don't agree with Charlie. Maybe I think he's...
On Martin Luther King Day, he decides to have a debate going against everything that he stood for. But again, I'm not supposed to get the vibes that everybody had that was similar again to Hulk Hogan when he passes. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying anything about the guy. I am letting y'all hear how he thinks.
The best person to live in the 20th century and that he's worthy of worship, which is effectively what this society demands, then fine, just listen to the episode and maybe you'll learn something. We talk about the positives, and then we also get into some of the other implications of this. We're a truth-seeking show, but I can say declaratively, this guy is not worthy of a national holiday. He is not worthy of godlike status. In fact, I think it's really harmful.
The gross take even got some pushback and criticism from black conservatives like Pastor Darnell Scott, Armstrong Williams, and the Blaze's Delano Squires. And reading tweets like this about newly hired New England Patriots coach Gerard Mayo, where Kirk twists Mayo's words about race to claim that Mayo will discriminate against white players. It's no surprise that he chopped it up with the one and only.
Imagine if someone said fuck one of the president's birthdays. Imagine if someone said fuck observing one of the president's birthdays. Oh, you wouldn't hear the end of that shit. All right, Bermuda, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? You wouldn't hear the end of that shit if someone said fuck George Washington's birthday. Someone said fuck Labor Day. You wouldn't hear the end of that shit. But it's okay for him to say fuck Martin Luther King Day. Excuse me?
Jason Whitlock to defend and double down on his bigotry. As usual for Jason Whitlock's terrible show.
The response was disappointing because some people, instead of dealing with the substance and or my very public track record of hating bigotry and racism and also associating with people of all sorts of different backgrounds, they started to call me racist. And I'm not saying it's because of this, but Black America was getting richer, they were getting stronger, and families were largely still put together before the Great Society, Voting Rights Act, and Civil Rights Act. 60 years later, Black America is in a worse position. I'm not saying it's because of the Civil Rights Act. I'm not saying it's because of the Voting Rights Act, but somewhere something went awry. You know, kind of going off your speech, I could have done the old conservative thing. I could have hid in the corner, said, you know what, I'm so sorry, how dare I? Because I saw the chatter increasing. I saw the right-wing intelligentsia saying, no, Charlie, it's a career ender. You don't do this. You just say MLK was awesome, and you don't ask questions, and you just kind of walk away. I said, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. I think that kind of attitude is destructive and wrong, and we felt the pressure that day. We were getting text messages of people saying, Charlie, this is going to end your career. Charlie, you'll never be back in decent circles. And I said, you know what, honestly, I don't subscribe to that. I'm going to trust the Lord. I know what we're saying is true. I was disappointed because I said, listen, guys, you could hate what I'm doing. You could criticize it. But if you're just going to throw the R word around like a Frisbee because I dare to question somebody who I consider to be a false idol of the modern cult of anti-racism.
Whitlock nodding along with approval is all the proof you need to know that Kirk is hitting all of the right-wing talking points. Characterizing his racist opinions of MLK as valid criticism allows Kirk to use free speech as a crutch to shield him from criticism of what he and Whitlock are trying to do here, whitewashing both the continuing and historical racially motivated crimes that our country was founded on, while demonizing anyone who wanted to correct the historical wrongs.
The thought, of course, is there's only one person in the 20th century that gets a federal holiday, and it's Martin Luther King. I can name at least a dozen people more deserving in the 20th century of a federal holiday than MLK. There are much better figures, such as Billy Graham in the 1960s, who had a lot more to do with the passage of the Civil Rights Act, who gets no credit than Martin Luther King. People forget Billy Graham had White House Oval Office meetings. Billy Graham led the Crusades for a moral awakening. What I'm trying to counter is the reason we talk about race so much is because we have a federal holiday to a guy that talked about race all the time. We celebrate the Civil Rights Act more than the American founding.
Kirk rehashing this old played out argument is just another sad attempt to tell people to shut up about conversations about racism and race in America. Because to Kirk and other conservatives, racism can't exist if you don't talk about it.
The multi-decade incubator.
And that's the whole thing. It's like, why would you try to quiet the conversation? It's the same thing that Trump is almost trying to do with slavery, right? Like, you're trying to bring back slavery, saying that, you made a promise to the farmers that black people were going to take jobs back once you started to do the thing that you're doing with ICE and deporting all the workers that were there because they were quote unquote Hispanic, you thought, right? And you thought that the black people were going to just take over the jobs there. And think, what? Like, that's what this is starting to sound like to me. You know what I mean? You're trying to erase the conversation of does racism even exist? And we all know it actually does. I mean, we're not going to necessarily get into it tonight, but the Delta University in Mississippi, the black student that got hung from a tree, if that ain't blatant racism, I don't know what else is. And we talking about this is in 2025 here, that this is still happening, where a black student is being hung from a tree in Mississippi, which is known to be what they call a sundown town. And a sundown town is where there are known racist people in the town. And when it's sundown, if you are a different color than Caucasian, there are things that happen to you. And you are not found anymore, as we went over before with the truckers that started going missing in these sundown towns. You know what I mean? So racism definitely still exists. So you can't just remove the conversation and say that racism does not exist whatsoever, when there's plenty different examples of it that we are still being subjected to day in and day out.
Of DEI was housed in the Department of Justice post the Civil Rights Act. The attitude, the enforcement, the precision that the DEI bureaucrats operate with was all workshopped in the Department of Justice in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And just now are we seeing it in corporate America, and we've seen this cancer metastasize. What started as a good intention to try to eradicate the injustices of saying that, only whites can eat at the restaurant has tragically metamorphosized into a beast that has even more hatred than some of the elements of the antebellum South.
You heard that right. Charlie Kirk thinks that the Civil Rights Act and its legacy have brought about more hate than the antebellum South. This is what real-world white supremacy looks and sounds like. And as much as we'd like to ignore the Jason Whitlocks and the Charlie Kirks of the world, this rhetoric simply cannot go unchecked.
So again, then you hear from the horse's mouth itself. So here goes another one right here.
One of the big activists and supporters of the youth on college campuses. In fact, he made his career advocating for college students.
Which he wasn't one, because big right-wing money guy paid him not to be, but
paid him not to be, and go around and attempt to organize young people to support Republicans. It's failed miserably, which is why he's moved into media, where he's had, I think, arguably more success. But here he is making a very interesting claim.
That's really what's going on here. And this is a wake-up call for many Jews. And I have sympathy for American Jews that are very confused. However, I have impatience for American Jews that have put up with the anti-white sentiments the last decade and thought it was perfectly fine. Because guess what, American Jews? You're considered white in the eyes of the Marxists. What? I thought white meant like MAGA Christian people in Oklahoma. No, white means you too. Welcome to the most hated class in America today. And Jews...
Pause it for a second.
Like,
now, I just want to weigh in here because I am Jewish and also white. And what he's talking about is complete BS. It's complete BS. His compatriots, and he knows them well, like the groypers that he's now having to finally cave to. Remember, there was a time where the groypers would show up and they would badger him at his college conferences. And they, of course, were also a big part of his organization. Some people had to get jettisoned because calls were leaked and text exchanges. But those groypers have always been anti-Jew, and he's had to get in there. Now, like he says, he has some sympathy with Jews, but now you shouldn't have been so anti-white, you Jews, he says.
What is the anti-whiteness that Jews are responsible for?
Oh, I assume it has something to do with what we did to Christ, right? I mean, no. What is it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what anti-whiteness Jews have been involved with. Is he talking about those guys who were killed in Philadelphia, Mississippi, when they were advocating for civil rights? I mean, where have the Jews been anti-white?
3 of the 4 Kent State victims were Jewish.
I wonder what he's talking about. What have the Jews been doing that have been so anti-white? And I will tell you something also. The idea of equating anti-Semitism with anti-whiteism, I don't know what anti-whiteism he's been experiencing.
And what in the fuck is anti-whiteism? That's the question I've been asking myself the past 5 minutes. What in the world is anti-whiteism?
But let's continue. This is fast.
Barbara's doing some anti-whiteism.
Welcome to the most hated class in America today. And Jews are like, wait, I never thought I was white. I don't identify as white. We're Jewish.
It occurs to me, pause it for 1 second, I thought anti-white racism was over when we elected a white president.
Thank you. On top of, good point there. It ended when we elected a white president. Very good point. On top of, what do you mean the most hated class in America? Are you trying to say white people are the most hated people in America? I know I didn't just hear that part.
Wasn't that a sign that the anti-white racism was over? I mean, we elected a white president. How much more do these whites want?
Nominated 2 of them last time.
Exactly. Go ahead.
And Jews are like, wait, I never thought I was white. I don't identify as white. We're Jewish. You don't get to determine the rules. Many American Jews are shocked that the organizations and the charities that they have been subsidizing want them dead.
Pause it. I also would be shocked if that was the case. I'm not aware of any of those organizations or what he's talking about. That A, I'm not even aware of which ones he's talking about, but B, I am pretty sure none of them said that we want the Jews dead. I feel like it would be bigger news.
What have evangelical Zionists said about Jewish people? Like, not that they want them dead, but to, I guess.
Well, they want them all to go to Israel and die.
Right.
But first they have to go to Israel. It's conditioned. It's conditioned. That's what the Kufis want. But let's continue.
Charities that they have been subsidizing want them dead. This is cut 67. I think this is illegal, where they are forbidding Jewish students from going to class.
No.
That Jewish kids are being physically prevented from going to class. And I want to make sure this is clear. At the foundational level, this is at UCLA, this is coast to coast. It's because they hate Western civilization, and they have now looped all Jews into the white category. So now Jews are experiencing the hate that we white people have been experiencing the last decade, and we've been warning against. Hey, you know that there's like a lot of venom against white people because of the color of their skin? Too bad. Floydapalooza, BLM, diversity is our strength. And now all of a sudden Jews are saying, this kind of feels like how we got to Auschwitz. This doesn't seem right.
Pause it for
and
a
I'm
second.
glad they're waking.
I just want to make it clear that nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying what he's saying that Jews are making. Every time you fill out one of those census forms as to like what your race is, there is no slot for Jews. They have all been putting white on that, unless they were also a different color or person of color or something to that effect. Everything he's saying both the premise and the payoff is a lie. It's just a lie.
And projection, like they're talking about like Israel as an outpost of Western civilization. Like when you see people say, Barnaby Ray in he's lecturing at Columbia now, is at Navarre Media, pointed out early on that when he was knocking doors for Corbyn, he got a guy saying, I don't support Jeremy Corbyn, but he's anti-Semitic, and he also lets in too many foreigners.
Right.
And it's like, that's because the right wing, they're incorporating Israel into a Western sort of West versus everyone else Manichaean worldview.
Now all of a sudden Jews are saying, this kind of feels like how we got to Auschwitz.
No,
this doesn't seem right. And I'm glad they're waking up. And it is how you get to mass murder. It is how you get to elimination. By hating one group, by sectarianism and tribalism. And the reason why this is breaking the matrix is that for years, it was fashionable and acceptable to hate white people. It's not as fashionable and acceptable to hate Jews. But if you call Jews white, are you then able to hate Jews?
Again, I'm not doing any type of defamation of character. I am not saying anything about the guy. I am letting you hear from the horse's mouth himself on how he thinks and what he is talking about and what, what his conversations were and his discussions were on these campuses. Now, speaking of which, we're going to now look at exactly that, what these campus conversations that they were talking about that he was known for. Tribunal said, I think that's exactly what he was saying. Yes. So I would think that you weren't trying to say that, but it really did sound like you were saying that white people are the most hated class in America. That has never been true. It never will be true. And this whole thing of you trying to separate Jews from white people is kind of crazy in itself. The fact that you're trying to make even the argument that Jewish people don't consider themselves as white people. Like you're trying to say, stand over here with us, brother. Huh? That's where you're going. He's going with it. Like, you stand over here with us. You're supposed to be, you're supposed to be white with us. It's just Jewish people are denouncing them being white. This is how he thought. This is how he thought.
A project of DEI at United Airlines was that we want to get 40% of our pilots to be black or women of color, or women or people of color.
40%.
50. I'm sorry, to get up to 50.
Hi, Charlie. Yeah, you're going to have to lower that one for me.
What's your name again?
Thank you. Naima, how are you doing?
Naima, it's been a while.
It's been a minute. How have you been?
Great.
That's fantastic. We won. You did do that. I mean, you didn't, but Trump did. Yes.
The collective we, yeah.
Yes, the collective we. So speaking of Trump, I do want to talk a little bit about his policy on DEI. As you know, in his first weeks in office, he signed the executive order declaring that DEI is both unlawful and a threat to national unity. And I just kind of want to ask you to elaborate on why DEI is unlawful.
Well, based on the Civil Rights Act, which I have disagreements with, but based on the Civil Rights Act, which is the law of the land, it says you shall not discriminate based on color, race, creed, or origin of nationality.
Yes.
And DEI definitionally does those things.
How does it definitionally do those things?
So, for example, if you say you are going to hire a certain amount of people or have scholarships only for a certain people, you are then prejudicing against another group.
Which group are you prejudicing against?
White people, Asians as well. I mean, white people are an easy one off the top of your head. So, for example, in the Harvard admissions case, I said this earlier, the average test score for a black individual was around 1,300 SAT, about 3.2 GPA. For a white or Asian, it would be about a 3.9 to 4 GPA and about nearly a perfect SAT. So you are disenfranchising and stereotyping and prejudicing against whites or Asians in favor of blacks.
And you heard it from the horse's mouth. Literally thinks that white people are smarter than black people. White people and Asians are smarter than black people. That was his own words. That there's a higher chance that a Caucasian or Asian is going to have a higher GPA or score on the SATs than a black person. That's literally what he just said.
You're not prejudicing against whites or Asians, though, because DEI is not on a race basis. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion of all people. Affirmative action is what is intended to address racial inequality, but DEI isn't on the basis of race.
Well, so DEI is a project of the affirmative action movement. So one comes before the other. He signed an executive order against both, for the record, so I wasn't sure which one you were talking about.
I'm talking about DEI.
So DEI, it depends what we mean in practice. So I can give you one example. There are black-only graduation ceremonies at certain schools, or black-only dormitories.
But those are kind of student-led. I
Hold
mean,
on,
I'm
but
part of a black-only
let's play this out.
organization, and
So-
it's run by students. It's not
Fair
through
enough.
the school.
Let's play it out. So if there is a black-only, let's pretend, which it's not, that building is black-only. If I said that, if that building was
I'm
white,
like the campus center?
no, I said let's
okay.
pretend it's
yes,
not.
hypothetically, yes.
Hypothetically, if that building was white only, you would agree that's a violation of the Civil Rights Act.
Yes, but there
Hold
are
on,
no buildings on campus that are black only and white only.
Well,
and by the way,
but there are on other campuses.
no,
though.
but in those dormitories that are like culturally specific, you don't have to be that culture to live there. They're not going to not allow you to be black to live in a black dormitory.
You would
no,
be, you'd be
Ujima at
surprised.
Stanford. White people do live at Ujima. That's not.
I don't know about that specific example, but if it says black only dormitory,
But it doesn't say black only.
But okay, how about this? How about if we had? Well, it does.
It
But
doesn't.
can-
Where does
just
it
to
say
be-
that?
Just to be clear, well, in the title, but let's
No,
pretend
but
it says
where?
black.
Like what school? Where does it say black only building?
Eastern Washington University, Portland State University, just off the top of my head, San Jose State University.
They say black only dormitory?
It-
and if a
it's-
white
it's
person were to apply to
it's
live there?
It's a black affinity
they would
cultural
not-
space of which only black individuals are accepted and governed for black individuals. But can we have white affinity cultural spaces?
You can have a white affinity cultural space. The activity is, the issue is
See,
that
I
you're
think
saying
that's against
black
the Civil Rights
only.
Act.
It's not black only. It's a black affinity cultural space. But anyone is invited if they would like to participate.
I would, first of all,
You cannot legislatively
I
not
agree.
allow someone of any race to participate in
no,
something. That doesn't exist.
We agree. That's the spirit of the diversity, equity, inclusion order, is that DEI in practice, again, we have to go through example after example, is discrimination, prejudice,
Well,
and
let's talk
segregation.
about DEI in practice. Let's
Okay.
talk about DEI programs in the workforce, because DEI programs in the workforce happen to benefit veterans. They benefit people with disabilities. They benefit people at an economic desperate. They benefit lots of people that is not just on the basis of race. And to me, it feels like you're conflating DEI with pro-blackness or black only,
So
which is
let's-
not the definition of DEI.
So let's take a high-profile DEI example. Is that cool? Just maybe one we can play around with.
Okay.
Which I got me in a lot of viral trouble, which I don't care. Which is pilots.
I got in a lot of viral trouble too. I
Hey.
was debating this guy,
I
you know.
And he kept interrupting you.
He did.
I know, right? Which is this? Which is that, let's say DEI, a project of DEI at United Airlines was that we want to get 40% of our pilots to be black or women of color, or women or people of color.
40%.
50. It was at like 6%. So therefore, they wanted to make a push towards that, and it was currently at 6%. We look at that and we say, wow, you're going to have to lower standards to get to that goal.
Why would you have to lower standards?
Well, because
Are you saying that black people are
no,
inherently
I'm saying
inferior?
the opposite. I'm saying that black people are only 13% of the population. So you want 13% of the population.
Women are not 13% of the population. Women are 50% of the population.
Yeah, but women do not make up a majority of people that want to become pilots. In fact, vast majority of women don't want to be pilots.
Maybe they would want to become pilots if the barriers for entry
Well,
weren't.
see, that now we're going down a different but equally fun direction, which is male-female differences. Men much more likely want to be involved in heavy machinery mechanics. They want to be pilots. They want to be tank operators. They want to be police officers. Whereas women much more likely want to be, I'll get to you, Mason. Don't worry. And I remember your name.
Yes, can Mason go? They won't let him go because he's
I'll
not
let Mason
USC.
go. I'll
There
let
we
Mason go. But just, Mason, have some patience. We did this last time, okay? But do you understand, at least from our perspective, because it's no good for us to go back and forth again, maybe from our perspective, that we worry that the pursuit of diversity can mean the compromising of excellence.
Charlie Kirk, this country is diverse. You can't just say the pursuit of diversity is compromising excellence. Diversity literally just means difference. This country is 13% black, it's 14% immigrant, it's 1/5 of every person in this country is Hispanic, it's 7% homosexual, and 50% of the country disagrees with you.
Okay,
Diversity is America. You cannot say
all of that is
that
true.
you
Hold on.
are America first if you do not care about half of America.
I care about them so much, in fact.
You care about them so much that you don't want to give them
I didn't interrupt you.
access
I care
to
about
equal rights.
Well, hold on. No one said rights. Hold on a second. No. I care about them.
It is. It's equal rights. It's
Naima,
equal
let
access.
me finish. Now who's interrupting?
Is she not owning him, or is she not owning him? You don't want to give people access to equal rights. I mean, that's exactly her point right there, though. You're pretty much taking away diversity because of how you view a black person would fare in just even taking a test, or how they would even achieve getting a certain level of a job based upon their skin color.
I care about them so much. I want the only thing that they're ever judged
To my
on
great fellow
is to be their
Americans,
character
Phil.
or their competency, not their skin color.
Okay, so you want it to be a meritocracy. You want it to be so let's talk about a meritocracy.
Okay.
What experience does Kash Patel have to run the FBI?
He has amazing experience.
No,
In
he
fact,
doesn't. He wanted to start a UFC fighting
He has
program
amazing
at the FBI.
experience. I got 5 words in. He was the most important thing. He was a public defender.
That's not what that's not
Hold
the
on.
job of the
He
FBI.
was
He has
both
no experience in
Hold
the
on.
FBI.
He was a public defender and he was a special prosecutor.
Was he ever a member of the FBI?
No, but
He doesn't have the merit to have
hold
that
on a
job. All right,
second.
let's do another example.
But
What
I'm
experience
not
does
done.
Linda McMahon?
I'm not
what
done.
experience does Linda McMahon have to run?
She ran the
Department of
Small
Education?
Business Administration in the first term, which is a big organization. She was the head of the SBA.
When she was the CEO of
No, hold on.
WWE,
I'm not even talking about that. She ran the SBA. By
one
the way,
of her employees was engaging in pedophilic behavior with their ring boys under her watch.
I'm not going to defend
and now
that.
she
but
is somehow qualified to be responsible
she
for
was
all of America's
one second.
children?
Hold on a second. She was previously a cabinet secretary and then became a different cabinet secretary. That's like a one-to-one.
Yeah, and then before that, she was enabling a pedophile.
So what you're first of all, I don't know about that instance. If that's true, that's wrong.
That's very
However,
much true. How do you not know about that, Charlie?
I don't
it's
know
like
about every.
very much
Okay. Again,
public information. It's really important to know
Great.
that the head of the Department of Education is currently in a lawsuit.
But let me finish the point, which is that the WWE can be easily made fun of. That's a serious business, though. It's a multi-billion-dollar business.
It is that engaged in pedophilic
Okay,
activities.
of which I denounce. I don't support that. However, she was head of the SBA, and now she's head of the Department of Education. Tell me another unqualified person.
Another unqualified
Is
person?
Marco Rubio
Pete
unqualified?
Hegseth.
Okay.
No, actually, I
hold
think
on.
Marco is slightly more
Let's
qualified.
talk about Hegseth. He's the most qualified because he actually accepted enemy fire and lost loved ones and friends of his own.
That doesn't make you...
Hold on.
Dude,
To
that
run
doesn't give you...
run the U.S. military, to be a warrior, not just an academic general, that's very important.
Look, dude, I respect veterans. My boyfriend's a veteran. I love veterans. That being said, not every person who is a veteran is qualified to run the Department of Defense.
I think he's also shown the last couple of weeks he's doing a pretty phenomenal job. The prior head of the DOD, Lloyd Austin, could barely climb up a flight of stairs. Pete Hegseth is up at 5 a.m. doing PT with the troops, running miles, and then doing an entire day at the Pentagon. And you might say that doesn't matter. I actually think physical fitness and being a good example to our troops is very important when you're the head of the Department of Defense.
Okay, but being the head of the Department of Defense is not about doing push-ups.
Hold on, but first of all, it's actually just refreshing versus Mark Milley and Lloyd Austin. But secondly, I will say the criteria is that he's a warrior's warrior. He's someone that was in the front lines and actually received medals and knows what it's like to lose loved ones. And the other people that were qualified, Naima, were people that got us in endless wars, people that never saw combat. I think it's finally time that we have someone in combat that runs the Secretary of Defense. I think that's immensely qualified.
Okay, sure. So we'll take Pete Hegseth for Department of Defense.
Yes, he's
we'll
doing a
take
great job.
someone who enabled pedophilia for the Department of Education.
That's an unfair
We'll take Kash Patel,
categorization.
who's never worked in the FBI.
He was a prosecutor, so the FBI's a...
Dude, do you remember what he said when he first got
Do you
the
want to go?
nomination?
Do you want to go back to Kash Patel for a
He
second?
said, yeah. I'm like, this is a sick.
Okay,
That is
can
an
we go back to
incredible
Kash
thing
Patel,
to say.
though?
That is like insanely inappropriate.
Can we go back to Kash Patel? So he was himself a prosecutor that tried cases. That's a law enforcement mechanism. I think they're asking for someone else.
All right.
Well, guys, this is interesting. Like,
so again, and the last one I want to do is pretty much him sitting down with all these kids and him expressing his
Do you think men can give birth?
all of his agendas at one time, pretty much. And this is a pretty good one. This honestly was a pretty good one. Hold on, let me put it on. The other one.
Do you think men can give birth?
I think that.
Yes or no question?
I think that a person who is assigned male at birth, I don't think they
Assigned
can give
male
birth.
at birth, so people are not male at birth?
I think that a
See,
person.
your evidence that college is a scam, my friend.
So what do you say in some cases women with IUDs are murderers?
Of course not, they're not murderers. We
So
do
what's
not
the
know-
difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote
Because-
and like a mother going to Planned Parenthood and killing the fetus in her womb?
That was actually the best point somebody made.
All right.
Can I maybe go?
Let me first say I kind of don't agree with how this is because they're kind of competing to even ask him a question when it could have just look how many kids is. There's almost 50 kids, maybe less. You could have just lined them up and gave them at least 20 minutes of time apiece.
Okay, hello, what's your
Hi,
name?
Juliana.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Can
you.
we get our terms right first?
Yeah.
Okay, abortion is the forcible ending of the viability of a being in utero, otherwise known as a fetus. Do we agree that's what abortion is?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, great. And then murder is the intentional taking of life, different than killing or sudden death. So murder would be the intent, with intent, taking another life. Do we agree with that?
Okay,
Okay, and then we agree that murder in general in society should be illegal.
yeah.
Okay, great.
So yeah, no, I do want to preface that I'm a Catholic.
Okay.
So I think one really important thing that the Bible says is to not judge. And just going back to the topic, I think there's a big difference between, cells in utero than a living, breathing, existing being. And while I do believe it's murder, and that's just my personal belief, right? I don't believe in telling people what to do with their bodies. That's not up to me, and it's not up to us as well as Christians
But-
to judge.
Should we prevent murder in society?
For sure, yeah.
Then it should be illegal.
But I think that it's really different, right? Because, these people aren't.
Sorry, nice to meet you. Okay, what's your name?
Naima.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, can I just ask, at how many weeks do you think that a fetus is viable?
Well, viability and moral worth are two different things.
No, but I'm asking you, at how many weeks do
Well,
you think
at
a
about
fetus
20
is viable?
weeks, a baby can survive outside of utero.
So it's actually 24 to 26
Well, it's
weeks?
20. The youngest ever in a NICU unit actually happened in San Diego, not far from here, and survived at 20 weeks.
Okay, so under Roe v. Wade, 93% of abortions happened in the first 13 weeks of pregnancy. That's 93% of the abortions happened well before a fetus is technically viable
For
as
sure.
a form
so
of life.
Let's go into viability. So what is it about, let's say, a 6-week baby that has a heartbeat, its own DNA, fingerprint, brain waves, that is less moral worth than an 88-year-old right now with dementia in a home down the street? That person requires assistance, requires help. Why is it that the 6-week baby is of less moral worth?
Well, first of all, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the f? I'm sorry, is this
It
a
means
language class?
little human being.
Ugh, his smile is very creepy. Okay,
Smiling is creepy.
no, your smile specifically.
Got it,
But
thank you.
let's go
So-
back to,
so-
we're losing track here.
No, but what species is the fetus?
'Cause
The fetus
yes
is
or no?
not a species yet. It's technically
The entire room saw how creepy that smile was when he said that.
classified
No,
as
no.
a parasite
No.
until it is viable.
So,
now, I want to talk to you about something very quickly.
I can't let you get past that. Are you
I'm
saying
sorry.
is saying a baby is a disease or a tumor?
A parasite is not a disease and a tumor. Those are not the same thing. A
A
parasite
parasite-
is defined as something that cannot survive outside of its host. A baby, before it is viable, cannot survive outside of a woman's womb.
Got it. So let's
Therefore,
extrapolate that.
It is not a living organism.
Are old people with Alzheimer's and dementia that are being assisted every day, are they parasites?
No, they're not parasites. They're human beings who are on the brink of death.
Got it. So
they're not going to be able to survive.
4-month-old that requires mom's breast milk and requires daily changes and feedings cannot survive without its own. Is my 4-month-old a parasite?
Your baby can breathe on its own. Your baby can drink water from its mouth to its stomach.
But it cannot.
Your baby can
it
eat
hunt?
food.
Can it gather? Can it reason?
But that's not what qualifies something as being a
okay, so
living organism. Being a living organism simply means, can you survive outside of a womb, outside of your host?
Got it. So I just want to make sure I'm clear. Why does that then equate to moral viability?
It equates to scientific viability.
Why? Under what standard?
Because it is not alive, and you are advocating for the rights of something that is not technically a life.
Got it. So what is something
while
that has
sacrificing the needs of the human woman who is alive.
Got it. So, but a mom can survive.
Yes.
Without the baby in her. Right?
Yes.
The baby cannot survive without the mom.
Yes.
But a mom cannot survive without her lungs. So it's not her body, it's in her body. It's not her DNA, so it's not her choice. So it's
It actually is directly her DNA. It is 100%. It's 50% of her DNA.
half her DNA. He's gonna win, I'm telling you. This could take a while.
Okay, first of all,
do we have our terms correct? We agree?
Actually, no. So first of all, I would like to refine our terms. I have 2 points to bring up after that, though. So you define murder as like intentionally like killing a human being. I think that's a very poor way to define murder, because if someone were to like break into my home and point a gun at the heads of me and everybody I love, and I intentionally kill them to prevent them from killing my family, I don't think I murdered them, right? So I would define murder as the unjustified termination of a human life.
You're making a good point. Let me further clarify that. So self-defense is very warranted.
Exactly, right?
But I can see where you're going to go with how that has to go with abortion, but we can go down that journey in a second.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I kind of do want to give you my argument insofar as why I'm pro-choice, why I think it's justified. But first, I think that, you know, your position is quite absurd, right? Because you're saying that it is murder to kill a human being, right, at any point in development, especially when it's in the mother's womb. My question to you would be, well, does this make women with IUDs murderers? Because it is the case that in some scenarios, an IUD will allow for conception to occur, meaning there's a unique human life there, but it will prevent its implantation, intentionally killing it.
Well, no, preventing implantation is not necessarily the same thing as terminating a fertilized egg. For example, if you take Plan B, again, it's not the same thing. Preventing the production of progesterone is not the same thing as terminating a being that has been fertilized. You do not know for a fact that the egg has been fertilized. You do not know that when you have an IUD.
Okay, yeah, so preventing fertilization or implantation to the uterine lining is killing a conceived zygote. So what happens? A sperm goes into the egg, right? The egg becomes fertilized. It's a conceived zygote. In some cases, it will prevent the implantation of the conceived zygote, killing the conceived zygote.
In some cases, correct.
So what do you say in some cases, women with IUDs are murderers?
Of course not, they're not murderers. We do not know for a case. That's like saying that
So what's the difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote and like a mother going to Planned Parenthood and killing the fetus in her womb?
Well, so you're asking two separate things. If they knew for certain, to be more clear, that I have a fertilized egg and I'm going to take a drug to prevent that fertilized egg from attaching to their uterine wall, then yes, that is an act of killing or murder, of course.
Okay, so do you think all murderers should go to jail?
Do I think all murderers should go to jail? I mean, on third degree murder. However, no, I don't think women that got abortions or had IUDs should go to jail, because I think that they have been deceived by mass culture and mass propaganda. Secondly, the people who should go to jail are the abortionists, who are the ones that have been putting the abortion pill, the ones that have been doing procedures, the ones that have been going into the 3rd trimester and breaking babies' backs and inserting them with syringes while the babies are crying and suffocating, being born alive, and then being dead on the operating table. Okay. That is who should go to jail.
Oh.
That was actually the best point somebody made.
We'll have to talk about
I know.
it.
Okay, whenever I'm talking about this discussion, I always go to the question of what about in the case of the mother when her life is in danger? Because I'm a big believer. I don't know. I'm still iffy on if I think it's if it's murder or not. But even so, I mean, I don't want to say murder is justified. Guys, wait. Let me just get this one point, and then you can vote me out. Give me 1 second. Say the mother gets pregnant, and she knows that if she gives birth, she's going to die. She has some kind of health complication. Then what do you do in that case?
Section.
I don't know what that means.
It's a C-section. They do an insert.
Guys, wait, hold on. Just give me one second.
They go right below the belly button, and they deliver the baby and therefore she doesn't have to give birth. It's technically birth, but it's much safer. So that's actually safer than an abortion procedure. Sorry, Lily. Hello, how are you?
Hi.
What's your name?
Deedon.
Nice to
meet you. I would say with abortion, I think it's very complicated, but I think the issue that I have primarily with your stance of being pro-life, that there's no nuance. There's women who are being forced to travel hundreds of miles to access abortion care, even in cases of rape in certain states that they're not giving any sort of allowance for that. And I think, you know, a lot of people who are pro-life, they say that they're pro-life, but I feel like they're really pro-birth because with firearms, the United States has some of the highest firearm deaths out of OECD nations, right? And we can acknowledge that that's for children who are actually living and breathing. So I feel like abortion, while yeah, it is, I can definitely see your point. I just think that it should be allowed in some circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I'm happy to get into the gun violence stuff later, but I want to really stay focused on abortion.
Right.
You can say you see my point. Can you see the world also where, since we know it's a human life, that it should be illegal since we don't allow murder in our society?
Well, that's where I have an issue because abortion is not being done willy-nilly. It's like the life of the mother is always.
How many abortions do you think we have every day in America? Just guess.
I'm not sure.
Guess.
I'm honestly not sure. Maybe, I don't know, 1,000?
4,000 a day. So
4,000.
it is kind of willy-nilly. We have 1.6. Sorry. Hello.
I
Protect themselves, but yes, and that's why after the reversal of Roe versus Wade, we saw abortions go down dramatically in Texas, Alabama, Mississippi. We saw thousands of babies that are now alive and well that are able to have amazing lives thanks to the reversal of Roe versus Wade.
I don't think a lot of that is true.
Well, it is, but
it's not true because when you make abortion illegal, it doesn't actually decrease the amount of abortions
that's a nice
that happen.
talking point. In Texas, the numbers show differently. The birth rate has gone up.
Yeah, legal goes down, but illegal abortions still happen. Abortions still happen outside of
So
whatever data you're
that's
showing.
not true, but let's just say well, if you
40?
if you want to, well, first of all, if you count the abortion pill, you're right, but that's a separate thing than a chemical abortion and surgical abortion are different things. And I'm not debating you, I'm debating her. So if you want to do the flags and come back in, try and be faster next time. So let me ask you this. So the question is, we should 0.4 to 1.6 million abortions a year of human beings that are being massacred in the womb. And so that's not a woman's rights issue, that's not a men's rights issue, that's just a human rights issue.
Okay, the best way to decrease abortions happening is proper sex education. Limiting abortion and making abortion illegal does not actually decrease the amount of abortions that happen.
So what is your evidence of that?
What is my evidence of that?
Because we have increased sex education in the last 30 years.
Our sex education is so bad in America.
Well, by bad, what do you mean by that? We have more access to birth control for young kids. We have more kids that are learning to use birth control at a younger age. We have more of that in our public school system. And we've seen all the trends actually go in a negative direction. So in fact, we see that the more sex education there is, the more disturbing those trends are. So you say that, let me ask just one more thing. You say that if we make abortion illegal, people will still do it. Should we then just make gang violence legal because
No, I'm
people
saying
still
if you
do it?
actually wanted to decrease the amount of abortions that happen, you wouldn't be advocating for to make abortion illegal. You'd be advocating for all of these
Does that
other
logic
things.
apply to stealing, looting, kidnapping, arson, and murder?
Well, actually it does because those are results of different societal issues that you should be
got it.
educating
So we
yourself
should
on
make-
rather than making it
so we
illegal
should
on
make-
the front.
Should we make kidnapping, arson, burglary, murder legal because they're symptoms of something else?
We should be helping society heal from
No,
those
you got to
things.
answer the question. We want less of those things. Should we just make them legal and we'll get less looting?
Actually, I'm gonna let someone else.
Thank you very much. Hi, Parker. Nice to meet you. Yes.
Nice to meet you, Charlie.
Big TikTok guy here.
So, like, pedophiles, people who were married to children in the past and normalized in that society, should they go to prison?
Should pedophiles?
Like, if you could go back in time, would you put those pedophiles in prison that married those children because it was normalized? They were deceived into thinking it's okay. Would you put them in prison?
You got to slow down.
Sorry.
Pedophiles should get the death penalty.
No. So you'd go back in the past, you give them the death penalty, even though they were deceived into thinking it was okay. But you said people who get abortions who are women shouldn't go
Hold
to
on a
prison.
second, but it's not currently illegal.
Okay. Regardless.
Pedophilia
at
is
that time,
current-
at that time, it wasn't.
No, I would not go back and retroactively enforce laws where things were currently not illegal.
You wouldn't put pedophiles in prison in the past.
Hold on a second. When was it illegal? When was it legal in America?
Well, child marriage was legal in America throughout the early 1900s and especially throughout most of society for thousands of years, especially in the Old Testament and in the Bible, right?
Well, hold on a second. So where is the Levitical law that allows you to marry a child?
Oh, yeah.
Can you name the verse?
Well, I can't name the verse, but the particular conditions that are listed in the Bible are that you have to be physical maturity and emotional maturity, which is extremely vague and throughout society has been seen to be met at puberty.
There is not a verse, but let's kind of go
Okay,
back.
so when is the age of consent under your view?
Let's go back to, well, generally agreed upon it's 18 years old. But let me ask you
But you, because you don't go based on what's generally agreed, you go based on the Bible.
I say 18 years old, but let me ask you a question.
Where's that in the Bible?
When does life begin?
Conception.
Like conception, great. So good. So should we protect all life at conception?
I care about sentient life, not cellular life.
So when do brainwaves start?
Do you think brain dead people should be able to pull the plug on, like a family should be able to pull the plug on an individual in the family that's brain dead?
You got to answer the question. When do brainwaves start?
You can see brainwaves around 6 to 8 weeks, which in brain dead individual there are brainwaves as well. So the brainwaves necessary to produce a subjective experience are met until around 18 through 26 weeks in the womb.
Can you see it from my perspective? That at 6 to 8 weeks, those brain waves will actually increase, not decrease, if allowed the process of development to continue.
Did you know those same EEG scans exist in brain dead people that you don't think are sentient?
No, but the difference with the brain dead people is that the likelihood of those brain waves actually increasing is very low. At 6 to 8 weeks, when by 15 weeks they can hear the mom's voice.
It's impossible. It's irreversible sensation. That's what brain death is. I apparently didn't know that.
But no,
it's not coma.
But you're doing a red herring. Go back to
No, it's not. What's a red herring?
A red herring is where you avoid the topic and you say something that is adjacent or symmetrical to what I'm saying, but not actually what I'm saying.
You mean a reductio ad absurdum? That's not a red herring.
A 6 to 8 week baby, if they're allowed to continue to develop, what ends up happening?
At a certain point, it will become a sentient being in the future. The same way that if I keep engaging in sex with my girlfriend, there'll be a baby in the future. Yet I don't care about the
unless
sperm.
you're infertile, which we don't know. But let's see the process of development, right? Why
do you want to answer my question yet?
Why do you have the ability or the right?
Should those child P3Os go to prison?
The process of
should the pedophiles go to prison?
From 1904. How many pedophiles are alive from 1904?
They're not alive, right? I meant like if you can go back in the past, hypothetically speaking, and you could put them in prison, would you put them in prison?
I would have killed them myself if I was alive. Back
okay, so then you don't apply it based upon what people are deceived to believe. You apply it based upon what you consider to be moral. So the women who had abortions, you think they should go to prison. So why should women who get abortions go to prison, but someone like my mom who told me that Santa Claus exists shouldn't go to prison because they're both sins?
This is not going to be a constructive debate if you keep on talking over me.
Well, I was finishing my statement. You were talking over me. But go for it.
Let me ask you a very simple question. Do you think it would be a good thing if we had less abortions in America?
It depends on the context. Like, are the abortions prior to sentience?
Yes.
Because I think
all abortions.
No, it would not be necessarily better unless it is the case that the people didn't want the abortions and it would be negatively impactful to their health medically speaking.
Are you against late-term abortion?
After sentience, yes.
Okay, so you believe in an 8-week abortion ban?
Yeah. No, I don't. Sorry, I believe in an abortion ban after 18 through 26 weeks.
Okay, that's a more reasonable position. I have to give you credit for that.
It's similar to Trump's. 15 weeks?
Yeah, so why do you think that most people don't share your view on that?
Well, people just don't really know what sentience is. There's not a lot of conversation about abortion. And these conversations are very difficult. Like, they're conceptually hard to go through. And I understand why a lot of people don't understand their positions on it.
So
but I think people
you are where most
You're cutting
Americans
me off. I thought we weren't cutting people off.
I was actually complimenting you. How are you? Nice to see you.
So I just have one question. There's, like, in any case, you don't think there's any case where abortion should be legal?
There's a very, very rare couple cases.
Okay, so you do think that a couple cases it is legal?
If cesarean section is not going to save the mother's life, and the mother's life is actually at risk, which is debated amongst growing numbers of OBGYNs, that is the only case where abortion should be allowed. But people say that it is a growing consensus in the pro-life world that abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay, so if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth and she would and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
It's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
But let me tell you why. No, hold on. Let me ask you a question. There's 2 ultrasounds I have. One is a baby conceived in rape. One is a baby conceived by a loving couple. Which one is which?
Your daughter was probably hopefully conceived by a somewhat loving couple.
Conceived by rape? Tell me which one was conceived by rape.
You don't know.
Exactly, because it's all human rights and it's all human beings.
But that doesn't matter. It's about your daughter who has to give birth to it and is going to be tortured by that for the rest of her life. That's going to take away every freedom she's ever going to have. That's going to ruin her life. She's going to grow up and she's going to be attached to another thing.
The point is how you were conceived is irrelevant to what human rights you get. Hold on one second. If a person conceived in walks down the side of the street, it's not like they don't get First Amendment rights or Second Amendment rights.
It's
or
not
Fourth
about
Amendment
that
rights,
person.
The worst thing to do to the daughter is to then say, hey, we're going to go murder the being inside of you.
They wouldn't even know. Like, listen.
They wouldn't know?
Listen.
But wouldn't it be a better story to say something evil happened and we do something good in the face of evil instead of saying we're going to do evil and then murder the being because we're going to pander to the evil? No. What makes the West great is that we do good after evil, not evil after evil.
It's not about the being in the cells.
No,
it's not about. No. I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
We're both,
no, I'm speaking.
We're both
No,
clumps of
I'm
cells.
speaking.
We're-
No,
we're
I'm
both
speaking.
clumps
No,
of
I'm
cells,
speaking.
okay?
No, I'm speaking. No, I'm speaking.
Want to say it one more time?
No, I'm speaking.
Got it.
Thank you. So it's not. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
I
the
know you
person.
don't care about them.
No. I'm talking about the person who is dealing with the pregnancy. I am not talking about the cells. I don't
the
care.
cells.
No, listen. The fetus, the whatever. I don't care about that right now until it is formed. If there is a 5-year-old child who is pregnant and the baby is 2 weeks in utero,
can't get pregnant.
actually they have given birth. There is
5-year-olds have given pregnant.
There is one recorded case of a 5-year-old girl who gave birth.
Is that common?
Yes, it's common. 5-year-olds get sometimes, and if they get pregnant, I think they should be able to have medical access to something that could save not only just their life, but like their livelihood.
How many, I'm curious.
I hope your daughter lives a very happy life and gets away from you.
Okay, so that is really nasty.
Question.
So her beliefs.
And to think, you would think that, yeah, she was the rudest one, some would say, right? Wasn't necessarily the rudest one, but the realest one with him. And she actually got the claps. She got a clap from everybody. I can see how he met his untimely demise. I just realized these are college students. Yeah, these are all college students. But yeah, again, this is how this guy thought. And this is the college students that he went to go see. And how these college students, of course, they're respectfully debating him on his thoughts. But you can tell how they're going about it. They don't necessarily like him either.
Just so we're clear, is that... Yeah, no, I got it. It's fine. I mean, it's insanely nasty, and we'll talk again. My next claim is that college is a scam.
Hello.
What's your name?
I'm Maddox. How are you
Nice to
doing?
meet you. Good.
So, college is a scam.
Well, let's define our terms. College being traditional four-year college.
Of course.
University, not community college or technical college.
Of course.
A scam, if we can agree on a definition, is where a majority of people who will go through the institution or business, they're not getting their money's worth, their time's worth, and they're being deceived when they sign up. So do we agree on those terms?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Well, what would further definitions, what do you think is the purpose of going to college?
The purpose of college should be a traditional liberal arts education, the pursuit of what is good, true, and beautiful.
Okay.
That's not what it is. It should be the betterment of yourself and your soul, nurturing your character and becoming a better citizen, understanding the deeper things in life. At the very least, though, it should be preparing one for the job market. Do you think college does those things?
I think it does, but I would add on to your point that I think not only is it for the betterment of yourself, but it's for the betterment of society. We need historians. We need certain majors that may not make as much money. I think those are for the betterment of society. Would you agree that there's some majors that may not make money, but are still essential to society?
It depends. Do you think that getting a degree in gender studies is good for society?
I would agree, yeah. Why would studying gender not be good for society?
Well, learning that men can give birth is not exactly a good use of time, is it?
Is that what they're teaching in college right
now? A lot
now?
of colleges, yeah. According to the Center for Disease Control, they no longer say women can give birth. They say birthing persons.
Okay.
Do you think men can give birth?
Do I think men can give birth? I think that...
yes or no question?
I think that a person who is assigned male at birth, I don't think they can give birth.
Assigned male at birth? So people are not male at birth?
I think that a person...
See, your evidence that college is a scam, my friend.
College is a scam?
You're lacking in a lot of
wisdom.
wisdom.
Well, here, we can continue right now. So, gender studies, do you think that studying gender is not essential? Should we not deepen our understanding
well, first of all,
of gender?
I don't think gender,
confused.
we're going to get there later. I don't think gender exists. I think that there are two sexes, infinite personalities, and no genders. However, let's get back to the core contention.
Well, here, can I ask my
Scam.
question again real quick?
Well,
why do you think...
I'm going to get back to my core contention. A scam. So the majority of kids that go to college, if they end up getting a job at all, they end up getting a job that does not require a college degree.
Do you think that certain jobs that may not associate with a direct major can incorporate skills that you learn from a major. I think I'm an econ major, and depending on what job I do in the future, I can still use the skills learned from that.
So tell me about Milton Friedman.
Tell me about Milton Friedman. He is an economist from...
How about Thomas Sowell?
Thomas Sowell.
Ludwig von Mises.
Well, I will say that I'm a first year.
How about
I'd love to see you answer the gender studies question.
We will get there later. That's what psychedelics are for. Who's next?
Well, I think it's difficult to think about just one major, thinking about just gender studies. Like, sure, like not everyone should be a gender studies major. We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need everything. However, why does it matter if 10 people want to be a gender studies major and it matters to them? Like, not everyone can be a lawyer, not everyone can be a doctor. There needs to be some people, and you know what? Yeah, it sucks that some people do go to college and get a degree and then they end up not in a workforce for that. But I don't think that has to do with like college was a scam. It's more like maybe that just wasn't the path for them, or that life choice was just too hard to get for them. But some people are able to go to college and get a degree and use it, and that is super important, because imagine if no doctors went to college, they're just like, I think I can do it.
Well, of course,
like,
doctors and lawyers need credentialing, right? But
college.
Well, less than 5% of all people that go to college end up studying medicine or in legal. The vast majority go into soft social sciences, communications, or the humanities. So you're in college, or have been, is that correct?
Yeah.
Are you forced to take classes that you think are a waste of time?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
You know what?
Hold on. So they're taking your money and they're forcing you that they're a waste of time. That's kind of scammy, right?
Oh, I think that some classes.
Ooh, some. So you have to probably go in debt, right?
Depends.
Okay. Are you going into debt?
No.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I picked a school that actually offered me a scholarship.
Oh, so someone else is paying for your college.
Oh, I don't know. Depends on me. I mean, that's a school that wanted to give me an opportunity. But that's not what we're talking about.
Well, we're talking about the scam element, right? So you said that there are some classes that if students had to go into debt or had to pay for, would not be a good use of their time. So it's not representing students well.
Well, do you think like high school is a scam then? Because I had to pay for high school, but I'm not going to use AP US history in my psychology degree ever.
Well, I think AP US history is actually a really good use of time, knowing about your country and your history. And
but I'm not going to use that in my career. That's what we're talking about in the career path for college.
Let's go back to what I said, right? We said traditional college, right? Four-year college. And what a scam is, we're a majority of the people that will go through the enterprise, the business, or the institution are not getting their time worth or their money worth. So therefore, I go back to my core contention, which is a majority of kids that exit college will not use their degree at all when they go to find a job.
But if you ask them, do you think college was a scam? I don't think majority of them are going to say yes. Some of them will. Some of them are going to be.
Well, not everyone who's being scammed actively knows they're being scammed. People still buy erectile dysfunction drugs off the internet. And they get scammed.
Okay, that's their own personal choice, though.
Of course, people have choices to be scammed. I'm not saying they don't have a choice. I'm making an observation analysis of the institution. For example, Flying Spirit Airlines, kind of a scam.
Okay.
Should be shut down. There is some, kind of agree. There are some things in life we have to take a step back and like, oh, the consumer is not being well served.
You want to shut down a bunch of majors in colleges that you think are scams?
No, I never said that.
So what would your proposal be to fix the scam of college?
There is no proposal. I'm simply, the contention is college is a scam.
So then what's the point of that statement?
To get you to agree.
But like, what would that do? Like, what do you want to fix in college that's going to help it not be a scam?
We can get to step interval 2 as long as you can agree that college is a scam.
No, because not for everyone. For me, I'm using a degree that's going to help people make better.
What are you studying?
Psychology and criminal justice.
Okay. So, and it's being paid for by somebody else, which is fine. That's good. So psychology and criminal justice. Do you absolutely need to get a degree to be able to get into this? You do?
Yeah, I mean, like I could, I guess, study it all on my own, but it's just like makes more sense to go and have all these experiences. I'm getting like wonderful experiences, internships all through my college.
So
that's helping me go through it. No, it's just that this is a pathway that's really helping me.
So you know there's 11 million jobs open in the country right now that don't require a college degree.
Okay, then the people who want those jobs can go get those jobs. I'm not one of those people.
Do you think we push too many kids into college?
No.
Okay, so the national graduation rate is 59%. If I asked the room, everyone would agree that they know some people that went to college that did not graduate.
Yeah.
Right? So we're probably sending too many kids into this institution.
But if they might have been able to do it, then like, why is it not worth it to try and to push yourself to get a better education and go further in your life?
Leaving with debt's a bad thing, right?
But some people are able to work through that. And it's like an opportunity thing.
But when an institution is multi-trillion dollars in scale, involves 23 million of our citizens every 4 years, and is not actually bettering the country. For example, if college was so great, we would see incomes going up for Gen Z and millennials. We'd see more people able to own homes.
Okay.
Kids wouldn't. I'm telling you, this is so ableist what you're doing, by the way. I'm telling you, right? Hello, what's your name?
Alize.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so let me start by saying, well, first of all, you said we're sending too many kids to college. Who's sending them? Who's forcing them?
Guidance counselors, parents, community.
Are they forcing them? Are they
Well,
signing them up
Hold
themselves?
on, forcing, I never said forcing, but you can have nudging and
Okay.
forcing are two different things. We also subsidize college through the federal government. So you guys get subsidized interest rates,
Right.
scholarships, and loans. So the taxpayer is nudging students and gently and sometimes forcefully pushing them into college. And you would agree it is an expectation if you grow up in a upper middle class home to go to college. You would agree with that. So
I-
there's a societal cultural push.
I didn't grow up in an upper middle class, so.
Okay, well, but would you see it from there? Would you see how that argument is correct?
I guess there might be a pressure, but no one's sending them. You're sending yourself.
Well, of course.
Well, we're
it's-
all over the age of 18, right?
Right,
When
but
you're in college, so you're
let's-
sending yourself.
Right.
But that's besides the
But
point.
let's
That's
be
a different
honest.
point.
I mean, that's a silly argument. But yes, they're technically sending themselves. I was just at Arizona State University move-in. Everyone had their parents there. They were co-signing on loans. They were there helping pay for stuff. Parents, the ones that are still checking in. They're the ones that largely subsidize their lifestyle. Hey, mom, can you Venmo me $3,000 so that I can go out on an extra night? Yes, of course, when you're 18 years old, you're the one signing on the dotted line. But there's enormous pressure and nudging and cultural expectation that students go to college.
Right. Okay. I think the problem here is that it's up to the person. You can't just go to college and expect to come out with a degree. You have to put the work in. You have to put the work in. You have to make connections. And some people might think college is just 4 years of partying and drinking and making friends, whatever. But you have to actually put the work in. And if you put the work in, you make connections, and you can find a job right outside of college.
Well, no, not doubting that you can't find a job. It's just that 52% of them get a job that doesn't require them to get the degree.
But most jobs offer incentive pay if you have a degree. And
But-
86%,
but then if that's the case, then
86% of
if-
people
if-
with a
if
degree
that is
get
true-
paid more than people with
Well,
just a
hold
high
on.
school diploma.
That's only if you count the ones at the top 10% of income earners. So not if you count humanities, not if you count people that study in the social sciences. If you count medicine or you count law, that's absolutely correct. However, the vast majority of kids that go to college are not studying medicine, law, engineering, business, finance. They're studying communications, social sciences, or humanities, which are on the lower income ladder. So as I mentioned, we have 11 million job openings in this country right now that do not require a college degree. I'm guessing in this room that within 4 to 5 years, you guys would kill to be able to earn $80 to $100,000 a year, yes? Do you know that in states across the country and in cities, they're offering apprenticeships to become plumbers and welders, electricians? That doesn't require for your college
Right.
degree. Entrance salary, $80,000 a year.
But again, 86% of people with a bachelor's degree earn more
No, I've already
than
told you-
people with a
I've
high school
already
diploma.
told you.
No, 86% of all people with a
I got
bachelor's
that,
degree.
But if you take out the top 10%, it's actually lower than those that don't go to college. So the reason that number, that average goes up is because the doctors and the engineers and the lawyers are the ones that bring that average so significantly up. But let me ask you a question. Do you think that there's any waste at all in the current college model?
Do I think there's any waste? I don't think we need all of it.
Okay, good. What part?
Well, you have to start with your core classes. And it's like high school. You're taking the same classes in
So do you
in high
think,
school.
like, for example, do you think that... It's okay, nice to meet you. Thank you.
I'm Emily. Nice to meet you.
Emily. Thank you.
Earlier said that about 5% of college students are going into fields of like medicine, law, and engineering, was it?
Let me clarify.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
as far as they're going to be able to get postgraduate degrees. So they will go all the way up and get their Juris Master, or they will end up passing the bar or becoming a doctor, right?
Okay.
So it's easy to say doctors, lawyers,
Yeah.
but healthcare professionals, if you count nurses or people that work in healthcare, that number is closer to 20-25%.
Okay, so 5%. Who here has a doctor? Can you like raise your hand if you have a doctor?
Like a medical
A doctor, yeah. Like a medical
yes, I do,
doctor. Yeah, you do. Okay. 5% is still a lot of people, right?
Of course, but
Yeah.
that means 95% might not need to exist at the institution.
I don't think that's the takeaway. Just because 5%, which is still millions of Americans
Wait,
all
hold on a
across the
second.
board.
But if you were to say, hey, we only have medical schools, only have legal, we can get
Oh,
rid of
no,
gender
no, no.
studies, get
Yeah.
rid of
So what's the contention?
Well, gender studies is actually, if you look on like the pre-law track, gender studies is a pre-law track. If
Got
you're
it.
going to be a lawyer, you have to study gender studies and other social
That proves
cultural
my
studies.
point that college is a scam.
Why?
Why would a lawyer need to study gender studies? Shouldn't a lawyer
it's
know the law?
It's a social science. The law, you think the law isn't inadvertently affected by social, cultural, and gender norms?
Of course it is, but shouldn't they first know the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Federalist Papers?
We learned that in high school.
Okay, so what is Marbury versus Madison?
I haven't been in high school for a really long time. I'm not trying to be a lawyer. Yeah.
So
I mean, high schools are like, it's public high
What was
school.
Brown versus the Board of Education?
That's for desegregating schools.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which Project 2025 wants to like defund the
Right.
Department of
So who
Education.
wrote the
So like
who wrote the Constitution?
founding fathers, 1778. I don't know.
It wasn't 1778.
I don't know.
Close, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know?
No.
Okay. Well, this is the point: is that you don't learn it in high school. You don't even learn it in undergraduate, and our law school's not learning it. So maybe.
Well, I'm not in law school.
No, the point is that you were saying they already learned it, and they don't. I don't want this to be a pop quiz or trivia. I didn't go to college, and I'm asking you very basic civic questions, and
Mhm.
you're paying to go to college, and you can't answer them.
That's so fair, but I think
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I have a question. Is church a scam?
No, because church is honoring the divine and the eternal and the good and the true and the beautiful. Is college?
But it deceives people because you give a promise of
hold
everlasting
on.
life, which you don't actually get because Christianity is contradictory logically speaking.
Do you want to get into a theological
Mhm.
debate, or are we going to talk
Absolutely.
about college? Because I completely disagree. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and we will have eternal life.
Okay, so how, if there is a perfect being that created the world, how could we exist in an imperfect world?
I'm
an
happy to
imperfect
have
creation?
this discussion. Can we go back to college, though? Because do you think, because that's a little bit of a red herring and a little bit of a rabbit hole. Tell me what that has to do with college being a scam.
Well, I do think college can be a scam for certain people. I don't think it's a
Okay,
scam
so
for
we
everyone.
agree.
though.
So-
for people like me, college was very beneficial for me.
For sure.
I'm
Who is
asking
it a
you- I'm
scam,
asking
though?
you, based upon your definition of a scam, do you consider the Christian church a scam?
Of course not. It's giving people eternal life and teaches them
Wait,
goodness.
but if
and-
Christianity is false, then that's a deception.
Okay, but you think it's false. I don't. We can agree to disagree. Also,
I'm not agreeing to disagree on that.
But we're not talking about the church. We're talking about college, right? So again, also people are not paying to go to church, are
But
they?
it's a reductio ad absurdum. Do you know what that is?
Ask the question.
What's a reductio ad absurdum?
That's a Latin term that means reducing down to the lowest common belief, correct?
Yeah, so I'm taking
Am
your
I right? I didn't
particular-
go to college. I knew that.
I'm
But
taking your particular position.
Let
that
me ask you a question without you interrupting me. Do you pay to go to church?
No, I don't.
Do you-
Some people
hold
do.
on,
They're forced to pay based upon
Hold
their
on.
particular denomination.
And today, do you pay to go to church?
Depending on the church.
No, you don't. Do you have to go to debt to go to church?
In some circumstances, people do because they have to give
What?
up 10% of
Which-
their income to
hold
be able
on.
to do that, which people
Which
can't afford.
circumstance?
Well, they're LDS. You understand that a lot of LDS churches specifically require 10%.
Yeah,
That's
they don't
Christian.
require it. And what you're
They
talking
do in
about-
plenty of places.
Well, you're asking mainline Christian.
Isn't there stigmatization
belief.
if you don't do that?
Okay, you're good at interrupting, not good at answering.
Well,
So
you haven't
just-
answered any of my questions
Well,
yet.
I did say no. Church is not a scam. Church is the bride of Christ. College is a scam, and college is people are going into debt. They're paying a lot of money. But I want to ask you a question. You said it's a scam for some people. Who's it a scam for?
Yeah, for people who specifically aren't ever going to use it, never use any of the knowledge
So
that they retain from
52%.
it. Well, you say 52%. I don't think you can qualify 52% of people don't do that.
What
For
number
example,
would you say?
For example, my job, that's not going to be recommended as an economics degree. Most economics majors are going to go into TikTok debating online. But I use the information that I learned in college in my job on a daily basis. So I still use
what
relevant
percentage-
qualities that are then used in my job later
Right.
on.
What percentage of kids that go to college are being scammed? Can you
I don't
put a
think
number?
anyone knows that
Can you
because it's
guess?
dependent upon an individual. I have no clue.
Shouldn't we try to find out?
Oh, if you'd like to find some empirics on that, I'd love to see it.
I just did. So
Well,
41.
wait, that's not a
41%.
source.
Well, the Department of Education is a source.
No, the Department of Education doesn't say 41% of people it was a scam for,
Hold
or that
on.
they didn't use any of the
You're-
information they learned in college.
You are using.
So are you saying none of them used any of the
Can
information?
Can I say 3 words without you interrupting me?
Do any of them
How
use
about
the information
4?
later on?
Can I say 5 words without interrupting
Well, you've
me?
interrupted me multiple times.
So since you say college is a scam for some people,
Mm-hmm.
it's a ballpark. For the kids that do not graduate, 41% that ended up going and not graduating, were they scammed?
No, just because you go and pay for a particular thing, but then you don't follow through with it, doesn't mean you were scammed.
Maybe they were
You
misled.
decided to pay for it. Oh, you could say some people are misled.
Do you
Some
think
people are
that every-
stigmatized into these things.
do you think
but
that
some people are misled in the church?
Do you
and you
think-
never answered my question
Well,
on that because
I-
you're trying to
I did.
take that time down so that you don't have to answer the question
Well,
about
hold on.
Christianity
Well,
because you know your worldview looks terrible.
Well, what about Christianity do you want me to answer? We're talking
Well, I
about
think it's
college,
false. Or because I was saying,
Okay.
is church a scam? If church is a scam, that'd be predicated off of the
Okay,
idea that
but-
you're deceived into believing that there's everlasting life,
Okay, but you
specifically from
believe that
Christianity.
again.
So Christianity has to be true. So can you grant that? What's the argument?
Christianity is true. Did the
What's
resurrection?
the argument?
You're going to let me finish 3 words in a row?
Appreciate it.
Okay. Did the resurrection happen?
I don't think the resurrection occurred.
Okay, I disagree.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. A perfect creator, is it possible for them to not desire something imperfect?
Is a perfect creator, I'm sorry, what?
There's a perfect creator that desires everything that's just perfect. How can they desire something imperfect, flawed?
Well, because maybe they want to get to know themselves. Maybe they want to see their own creation. Maybe they love
They want to get to know them? He's all-knowing.
Can I finish talking here? Okay, maybe because God loved the world so much that his creation, which rebelled against him, given agency and free will, rebelled against them, then got eternal life, what we actually deserve, and then sent his son on a rescue mission to save us from that. The church is the bride of Christ, will save us from damnation that we deserve. College is far from the bride of America. It's currently scamming the youth of this country and sending them into oblivion.
Didn't answer the question.
I did.
No, you didn't say how they could desire something imperfect.
Well, God can
We'll
do
talk
anything.
about that later.
God can do anything, so.
Even something logically contradictory?
No, it's not logically contradictory.
To desire something imperfect?
Can an unstoppable object hit a immovable force?
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News.
Okay, so pretty much you get the idea, right? You get the idea and you get the gist of how this guy pretty much thought and how these kids actually thought of him and how the college campus thought of him and how, well, pretty much how a lot of people thought of him. Who started this college scam in America? Good question. Who brought Charlie Kirk around? Umera, what's going on? What's going on? It's a great question. Who brought Charlie Kirk around? Who brought Charlie Kirk? And Candace Owens, has been going viral for her past relationship with him. Not like boyfriend and girlfriend, but pretty much her best friend, she would say. And she was going viral for her video of them singing R. Kelly. I'm not gonna play the clip, but she'll show it. She'll show it herself. Matter of fact, yeah, I will show it. Yeah, I will show it. Let me see if I can find that one. Oh, they don't even have the short of it anymore? Okay. Hold on. 1 second, guys. 1 second. I know I could find it. I know I can find it. Oh, here it is.
Bounce, 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 bounce. Ladies like murder, she roll. Once I get you out the clothes, privacy is weekend, baby. I'm about to have me some fun.
So, this video have been going viral, and the only thing I can think of to myself is, okay, I'm supposed to, now, let me try to say this respectfully, right? But I'm supposed to feel no type of way. Or should I say, I'm supposed to just say, aw. In a sense, right? I'm supposed to say, aw. Aw. Because he was singing R. Kelly. First of all, I still feel a way when people listen to R. Kelly. That's just me, okay? That's just me. I refuse to listen to R. Kelly. And I will argue the fact that if you know what happened in majority of these songs, or who he's talking about in these songs, and what these lyrics are actually about, and you know it speaks of pedophilia, I question your morals if you still listen to R. Kelly knowing what these songs are about. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So again, Candace Owens pretty much knows Charlie Kirk. So I'm going to let her break it down of who actually might have killed Charlie Kirk, because apparently she knows and thinks that it's a similar situation to what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. Ironically, it's starting to sound like there's an ongoing thing where these agents of Israel are getting gunned down now all of a sudden.
All right, you guys, we're going to jump right into this with no introduction. There's a lot that I would like to speak with you guys about. Can't wait to hear your feedback. A lot of lies that are being put out there, narratives that I would say are half-truths or just misrepresentations entirely. And I don't really see the reason for that. First and foremost, to let you know, last week was not a dream. Charlie Kirk, my friend, is dead. And he was publicly executed. I want to make that clear. Charlie Kirk was publicly executed before the world. And as we are all searching for answers, the ones that are being supplied to us are not making a lot of sense. And some people, I would say, are speaking too much, are speaking on behalf of other people. I don't like it. I will say something that I think brought the world a lot of relief, also, sadness, we were grieving with her, was when his wife, Mrs. Erica Kirk, addressed not just the nation, but the entire world. Her words were very powerful. And we just have a very brief portion of her remarks, which you should pursue in their entirety. But here she is.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country. In this world, you have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die.
Beautiful, powerful words. Charlie had just one wife. What we got to see across this weekend is that there were so many people around the world, like she said, who were deeply moved by Charlie Kirk throughout their lives and, of course, have been deeply moved by this tragedy. And what she is describing there, that fire, a lot of us are feeling it. I am definitely feeling it. I had a very tough weekend, I will say this. My entire life, I've not been much of a crier. It is not my choice emotion. I'm not a person who bursts into tears, and some people are like that. This weekend, I didn't just cry. I wept. I wept for Charlie, obviously. I didn't make it through the tribute to him on Friday. And for those of you who wanted to see me in a moment of weakness, that was delivered to you. Fair. Yeah, I watched my friend get shot in the neck. Yeah, that's what happened. I just want to say that he was publicly executed again before the world. The question is why, right? When you are in a state of grief, you go through a lot of emotions, and I'm arriving right now at a lot of anger, the audacity of some people. It has taken much restraint and prayer, and I had to speak with a priest. I had to go to confession. These emotions that I am having, wanting to respond with Charlie in his own words, really. People that are coming forward and saying this is what he thought and this is how he should be remembered. It just feels really inappropriate to me. I didn't know what to do other than to scroll through messages between me and Charlie, regarding which there are a ton of them. And kept going back and watching the many videos of us dancing to the song Power. And it felt appropriate to reach out to Ye, speaking about things, talking about his mode when he wrote the song. You know, when you wrote the song Power, why did we have it as our hype song? Because the song is about the ability to find it within yourself, to become what you know you are capable of becoming inside of a matrix, when you just realize everything is dishonest, that everything is performative, that people are dishonest, that they are going to try to stop you from being great. In fact, it's the end of the song, the question that he asks at the end of the song, that's the most important. Ye asks, do you have the power to let power go? Do you have the power to say no to power? You know, I told you guys that Charlie was going through a spiritual transformation at the end, and all of the usual suspects were really angry that I hinted towards that. What do you mean? You're not allowed to say that. They were attacking me, trying to make me fearful, to speak out and speak about the things that I know. I'm not feeling very fearful right now. I am, like I said, very angry. And I found, Charlie's favorite portion of the song. I'll show you the text between him and I, because this feels very relevant right now. This is, again, lyrics directly from the song Power, but I just needed time alone with my own thoughts, got treasures in my mind, but couldn't open up my own vault. My childlike creativity, purity, and honesty is honestly being crowded by these grown thoughts. Reality is catching up with me, taking my inner child. I'm fighting for custody with these responsibilities that they entrusted me. And that's a moment where he is really speaking about how hard it is. Like when you're saying, no, this is what I believe. And they say, you're not allowed to believe that. You feel like you are fighting for custody of yourself. And I want to be very clear that I believe, in fact, I know that towards the end, Charlie was fighting for custody of himself. I want to say that. I want to say that plainly. And there are lies that are being told and they need to be slapped down right now. There's one person who's been out there acting like he is a widow, just saying the absolute most, tweeting first about what happened to Charlie, following it minute to minute, and doing hits in a foreign country, right? Like making time to do hits on Fox News, 2 of them. Bibi Netanyahu who's fighting, I think, like an 84 front war with everyone, made a lot of time for Charlie Kirk. You would have thought they were the best of friends, as close as him and Trump were. But I will say I don't recall Erica mentioning Bibi Netanyahu in her speech. The way he's presenting it is like he was this is just the worst loss for him, but I don't think that is the truth. In fact, I know for a fact that he is misrepresenting some things that happened there towards the end. So let's at first listen to what Bibi Netanyahu just one day, less than 24 hours after Charlie died, what Bibi Netanyahu had to say on Fox News.
Now, before she does that, right? Real quick, before she does that, I do understand from her perspective how, because this was called Hell Have No Fury, right? Referring to Hell Have No Fury, like the wrath of a woman scorned. Pretty much, and she also did a video like 4 or 5 hours ago. We're not going to look at that video. But pretty much what she is saying is that Charlie was set up and he pretty much was being held against his will as far as, what he was allowed to say and what he wasn't allowed, what he was allowed to say and what he wasn't allowed to say. She's going to get into it in a few that, he was involved with some, people that was giving him a lot of money. Some billionaires was giving him a lot of money to push a certain agenda. And once he didn't comply with that agenda, that's when they removed him.
Take a listen.
We're just heartbroken. Myself, my wife, my family, my son actually, on his 2019 visit to Israel, had lunch with him and his wife, Erica. We're shattered first as human beings because a great human being has been taken from us. Was an extraordinary friend. He said, he wrote me a letter on May 2nd this year. He said, one of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances to defend Judeo-Christian civilization. A few weeks before the tragedy yesterday, I called him and I spoke to him and I said, please come to Israel. I invited him to Israel. And sadly, that visit will not take place. But he was a defender of our common Judeo-Christian civilization. He was unbelievably excited to walk in the footsteps of Jesus here. He valued our bond, the bond between America and Israel. He did so many things to defend free speech. He had his truth. He stood up for it. But he said, you can come and debate me. He invited that debate. He certainly didn't invite the violence, the horrible violence that tried to silence him. And this is a worldwide problem. The people on the extremes, the Islamists, the radical Islamists, and their union with the ultra progressives, they often speak about human rights. They speak about free speech, but they use violence to try to take down their enemies, whether it's President Trump, who's been almost assassinated twice, or, they try to kill me here too. But they got Charlie Kirk, and it's just heartbreaking.
Who is they, BB? Who is they who got Charlie Kirk? We don't have to actually speak conspiracies. I'm just wondering, because you said a lot there, but it really sounded like it was about BB trying to establish a narrative that we saw reinforced by a lot of people that, Charlie kind of made it almost sound like he died for Israel. I mean, Trump's account.
Didn't I just say that? Didn't I just say that? Trying to push an agenda with what, how this with the they. Trying to push an agenda of war.
Even tweeted out a photo of Charlie and an American flag and also an Israeli flag, a bit of AI used, this is just who Charlie was. He says Judeo-Christian values. He spoke to him 2 weeks ago. Again, you would think he was busy fighting this 97,000 front war, but no, he's letting you know that he just randomly picks up the phone and calls Charlie Kirk and invites him to Israel? Why would BB do that? It seems like maybe there's a little more to the story. No, there definitely is a little bit more to the story. First and foremost, that letter he is holding up, he is severely misrepresenting. Those sentences are real, but I am calling upon Bibi Netanyahu, the dear friend to Charlie Kirk, to publish the letter's entire contents. Don't start with just 2 sentences. Publish the entire thing. You're holding it. I'm saying you're severely misrepresenting the contents that in May, Charlie was concerned about Israel and their influence on American politics and how they were pushing things that he felt were in conflict with his beliefs, free speech here in America. Bibi's holding it up like Charlie just in May said, hey, you know what? I just want to write a love letter to Israel. That's how it was presented. Would you guys agree? That's not how it happened. Now, regarding that phone call and that invite, that also needs to be contextualized. And I'm going to do that. But first, Skylar, can we bring in a clip of Charlie from a month ago speaking about the kind of pressure that he was under? Because I think that will also help to further contextualize this. Take a listen.
I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, you saw it, Megan. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper-paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white, and you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megan. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? They go, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online. How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, hey.
No, it's not defensible to be dumb, and he was under an increasing amount of pressure, not just people telling him, oh, well, you know, I'm upset with who you're inviting, but flat out telling him that he was not allowed to invite certain people to his events. They were threatening to pull out money. Charlie was getting a lot of really nasty text messages, and many of them pertaining to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, but Tucker Carlson was really the focus when it came to America Fest. How could Charlie allow these debates about Israel to take place? How could he allow Dave Smith, who, by the way, is Jewish, how could how could Charlie allow this other position to meet the stage? Because obviously when people start to hear the debates, what Dave Smith is saying sounds so rational, but it was up to Charlie to not allow those things to happen. And that amount of pressure towards the end, as you see that conversation he had with Meghan was just a month before he lost his life, really, I would say, reached a pinnacle of sorts on the matter of what Tucker Carlson actually said on that stage. Tucker Carlson, while he was on that stage at Turning Point, brought up Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a billionaire, obviously. He is also an extremely litigious billionaire. And Bill Ackman was on Charlie about comments that Tucker Carlson had made on that stage. Tucker Carlson specifically asked the question, where does Bill Ackman's money come from? You know, who is this guy? Actually, who is this guy that has this much influence? And like I said, Bill Ackman was not happy about this. And so I would like to contextualize Bibi. Again, these are things Bibi brought up publicly, which he didn't have to. He didn't have to bring up the letter. He didn't have to bring up the phone call, but he chose to do this less than 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was shot. Personally, Bibi, I would have appreciated if you guys used all of your spyware, you've been spying on us for years, to maybe track down the killer. But I guess this is where you thought it was best. To do a little propaganda for Israel would be better than us helping us track down the killer. But anyway, so Bibi Netanyahu in that phone call, what took place was a couple of weeks ago before Charlie lost his life. Charlie was in the Hamptons, and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman, because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote-unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset, and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you, and he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure.
Now, what she's trying to say is pretty much he was given a lot of... Now, who she's actually talking about, real quick, right? Just so we're clear. It's Bill Ackman. Okay, now some of you are saying, who the hell is Bill Ackman, right? I'll show you who Bill Ackman is. Might have seen him before. So he's a billionaire worth $9.3 billion. An American billionaire hedge fund manager who is the founder and chief executive of Pershing Square Capital Management, an investment management company. He has been described as an activist investor. As of July 2025, Ackman's net worth was estimated at $9.4 billion with Forbes. So, needless to say, this is who was giving the money to Charlie Kirk. And this is who Candace Owens is saying that he knows way more about what really happened to Charlie Kirk than meets the eye. Because, like I said, he was the funder of what Charlie Kirk was doing and the main person behind him pushing the agendas for him.
And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat. You know, I got to tell you that. It felt like a threat. Like, not like, hey, come here and we can educate you because you're my friend. More like, this is your last chance. That's how it felt to me. I can't speak to how it felt to Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely right, 57 Dove. He was definitely sacrificed. That's what Candace Owens is getting at.
And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Bibi would fund it, you know, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as like, you know, re-education camp. You know, we've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. You know, we just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah. We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel and we can make this better. Charlie said no to Bibi. Okay. Bill Ackman, if you would like to dispute that, I would love to hear what you say happened, because our sources and what we have, it's solid. Okay. There were conversations that took place, messages that were sent at that time, and they are solid. So I decided another person that was there, and I am not surprised this person was there. If you've been listening to my show, Seth Dillon, I was going to go out to Seth Dillon, and I decided to message him last night about this Hamptons meeting. And Seth Dillon, who is normally very quick with a response, has not yet been able to respond. I'll show you this text message chain. And I want to be clear, I am not someone who normally publicizes text messages. But my friend was shot in the neck. And I'm just not really in the state right now to be polite when it comes to the answers that I am demanding, okay? This is me out to Seth Dillon last night. I sent him Bill Ackman's tweet because, you know, he tweeted, I feel incredibly privileged to have spent a day and shared a meal with Charlie Kirk this summer. He was a giant of a man. I said, any comment on this one, Seth? He didn't answer last night. This morning I said, need a comment ASAP, please. He didn't answer. Then I followed that up and I said, trying again here, you were present when Ackman lost his mind on Charlie and when Bibi invited him to Israel and Charlie refused. Text messages immediately following this meeting are circulating. I find Ackman's statement, as though the meeting was somehow cordial, to be incredibly disturbing. Are you at all disturbed by that tweet? Do you feel, as I do, that this tweet significantly betrays the defined purpose and mood of his, and I presume your, final meeting with Charlie Kirk? ? He was unable to speak to me, but he did place some frantic calls to Turning Point USA. Yeah. You see, I went out to Seth, but I also went out to two other people who were at this meeting, and nobody is willing to go on record. They're all messaging each other, trying to figure out a coordinated response to say that, no, this was all quite cordial, but no one wants to go on record and describe it as cordial because they know someone's leaking, because someone's got a guilty conscience about what happened at the Hamptons. So I will again put it out there, Seth, Bill Ackman, and to the other individuals who I have not yet named, but who are going to be named later this week, who were at the Hamptons when Charlie was put under pressure. when Bibi Netanyahu called him and invited him to Israel, again, in a move that when it happened to me, and it wasn't Bibi Netanyahu, felt to me like a laced threat. I am inviting you guys, I will give you my platform, actually, to come clear matters up, to tell us what really happened. Because, I think Charlie was definitely on the brink of changing some of his perspectives. And I can tell you factually, Charlie was praying the rosary. Charlie was going to Mass. One of my last conversations with Charlie was me joking with him saying, just make the last step, okay? You are, I said specifically, you're too smart to be a Protestant. Just take the last step, Charlie. He says, ha ha. He was speaking about Mary. And typically when those steps start taking place, you stop referring to yourself, as I did, as a Judeo-Christian. Again, it is mystifying why, Bibi was out there doing the absolute most to make sure that Charlie was basically remembered as, I would argue, like a Jew, has not been yet mentioned. I didn't hear that. Erica was very clear that Charlie was a Christian, and I believe Charlie obviously was very much a Christian, and that things are not being told truthfully. In fact, I will also call upon, since we're having fun, Turning Point USA to release the audio of what Charlie Kirk, because I was in communication with Charlie at this time, because I knew exactly which donors were pressuring him and why, exactly which people that they were insisting Charlie allowed to speak at his event and why, when Charlie did not necessarily want those people to speak at his event, okay? I'm calling upon Turning Point to release the footage of what Charlie said to Tucker Carlson before he hit the stage, before, all of that craziness and the response to Tucker Carlson's remarks played out. Charlie was mic'd. Surely Tucker Carlson was mic'd. I know Charlie's mic'd the entire time at those events. So I'm asking for everyone to just release Charlie in his own words. I feel like that's pretty fair, right? Let's stop saying how Charlie felt. And instead, if you're going to hold up the letter, release it in its entirety, okay? Why don't you release your messages, Bill? I'll release mine. Let's all just be very forthcoming about what took place. In fact, I'm calling upon Tucker Carlson to speak about that. I know what Charlie said to him, and I'm sure Tucker Carlson won't lie about it. What did Charlie say to you? Dave Smith, what did Charlie say to you? What was Charlie? Did he seem like he was treading in the direction? Like, do we feel like what Bibi is saying is honest, a representation of what Charlie was going through? This is what I want. I think that the thing that we need here, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Now, does all of this mean that Bibi Netanyahu and that this somehow proves that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk? No, we have no evidence of that. We can't say that because there is no evidence of that. But I don't like little lies. That's what I will say. Something that I always say in my household is, when there is one lie, there's 20. There's no reason to lie. Bibi could have gone on Fox News and he could have told the truth. He could have said truthfully that Charlie Kirk has always loved Israel. He has always loved Israel as the Holy Land. He's been here many times, and throughout his career, he has been a faithful supporter of Israel. That's not what he said, okay? He talks about the phone call and didn't give it the proper context. He held up the letter and didn't give it the proper context. And lies by severe omission, I'd like to be very clear, are lies. Lies by severe omission are lies. You're not going to gaslight us and tell us to shut up or call us anti-Semitic for pointing out the fact that Charlie was having a change of heart about the tactics that Israel was using in America, and that he felt when he had left that meeting that he had effectively been blackmailed. Again, my platform is yours, Seth Dillon. My platform is yours, Bill Ackman. So if you want to clarify it, we can do it in front of millions, okay? And I think that that's what people deserve, because everyone has PTSD. We watched Charlie get shot in the throat. That feels a little bit symbolic. It feels like they wanted us to know that his voice was problematic. Again, I don't know who they is. After we take this brief break, we're going to go through the investigation, which seems to have a lot of inconsistencies and holes in it. And we're definitely not yet at the bottom of what, in fact, took place. But I do know that I severely distrust people.
Did you see the Melanie King video about Amazon publishing an article the day before he was assassinated? No, I actually didn't. Let me look that up real quick.
Who rush to misrepresent things. And it's not a good sign when somebody has to ask you, as Greta Van Susteren asked Bibi Netanyahu in his secondary hit regarding Charlie Kirk's assassination. It's not a good sign if somebody even has to ask if you did have anything to do with the assassination. It doesn't make you a great person, okay? And that's what she asked him. Take a listen.
Before I let you go, I want you to address one thing, and it's just the absurdity of it. Some of the internet rumors that somehow Israel is behind the Charlie Kirk murder, and I don't believe it for 1 second, but I want you to make a statement. It's so absurd.
That's insane. That's insane. Israel also changes the orbit of the moon. Israel pushes the sun. I mean, the whole thing is—it's not only insane. I think it's so absurd, so stupid, and so ridiculous. You can't believe that people are saying that. They just found the perpetrator. They'll get to.
Very interesting.
You see where that came from? It was right here, wasn't it? It was like over here. Yeah.
We cannot do our job without the public's help right now. The public has answered our call for action. So far, we've received more than 7,000 leads and tips. I would just note that the FBI hasn't received this many digital media tips from the public since the Boston Marathon bombing. This case also highlights the dedication of our law enforcement community. We have 20 federal, state, and local law enforcement partners that are working shoulder to shoulder to find the person who committed this horrific crime. With their support, we've completed nearly 200 interviews. As you're aware, as has already been reported, the FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the identification and arrest of the person responsible for the murder of Charlie Kirk. I will just add as well that, as was mentioned, there is a lot of forensic evidence that is being processed right now at both the state lab and the and federal labs and federal lab on the East Coast. There is a tremendous amount of disinformation. We are tracking our team, the state team, and I'm sure the federal team as well. What we're seeing is our adversaries want violence. China, we have bots from Russia, China, all over the world that are trying to instill disinformation and encourage violence. I would encourage you to ignore those, to turn off those streams, and to spend a little more time with our families. Last thing I will just say is we've been working with our attorneys, getting everything that we need, affidavits ready, so that we can pursue the death penalty in this case, and that will happen here in the state of Utah. Thank you.
Okay, so again, notice how they're even mentioning the whole get off these streams and these social media sites and get off the streams that they're trying to tell you to be violent and whatnot. Dog, they are literally attacking us. This was a ritual. Yes, they are literally attacking us from the inside out as far as trying to remove our First Amendment and freedom of speech.
The bottom of this, but they go, they have no limits. When you hate Jews, when you hate the Jewish state, you're willing to say anything and promote all these absurd rumors. And by the way, they're willing to kill us all the time. I mean, that's what they're doing. And over the centuries, when Jews, especially in the Middle Ages, the horrific Middle Ages, the worst things were said about Jews you couldn't possibly believe. We were poisoning the wells. We were drinking the blood of Christian children. You name it. I mean, these things. That continued actually up to the Holocaust. The Nazis said the same thing. We're carrying vermin. We're spreading disease. And people believed it. And every time they believed it, this was a prelude to a greater and greater massacre, culminating with the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust.
Well, he's mentioned the Holocaust. Guess we can't prod the narrative any further, guys. Holocaust. So everybody's just stopped talking about anything. Hey, he's the victim. It's absurd. It's just absurd. The Holocaust happened. You heard him. We're sick of this shit. We really are. And there will be no narrative that I will not prod when it comes to figuring out why people are lying about the state that Charlie was in when it came to the topic of Israel. Again, you can examine Charlie in his own words. He was starting to talk about topics that you're not really allowed to talk about when you take money and big checks are being written. And that pressure was increasing every single day. In fact, he was telling the truth even about Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen.
Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell,